Well, welcome, good afternoon, at a very damp SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS. We are here for the iconic SPA 500 race, 7.004 kilometers over one single lap, equating to 4.352 miles, 19 turns. We're going to be going racing for just under 3 hours to decide who is going to win this illustrious race. It's been the stomping ground for Mercedes over the last couple of years, with Maxi Goetz taking the checkered flag alongside Levente Revesh 12 months ago. The year before, it was Almanar racing by Get Speed, Michael Grenier and Al Faisal Al Zubair. And starting on pole position, it will be Maxi Goetz once more, looking to go back-to-back, but with a new teammate in Christian Mansell, who went fastest in his qualifying session this morning. They're going to face, though, a stiff test from elsewhere on the grid, with SVC Lamborghini also fielding a very strong lineup with Moncini and Testa. Testa taking the start of this one, and the all-British elite racing Ferrari with Tom Empson and Tom Leben, who had some question marks over their speed through the course of free practice, but when they went into qualifying, they discovered their pace, and they're starting on the second row alongside Norbert Siedler, stepping in for Alex Fontana. A nice variation in manufacturers across the grid, and we have got all the action to bring you through, well, the next course of the next 3 hours or so. It's going to be special. George Morgan here in the commentary box, and once again alongside me, as always, Chris Stevens.
Well, this country is famous for chocolates, beer, waffles, and this beautiful 7-kilometre ribbon of asphalt in the Ardennes. How fantastic to be back at Spa. And once again with the 500-kilometre race format. The grid set by the averages of both drivers through Q1 and Q2. And that means we've got the classes much more grouped together than we're normally seeing. All 9 pro cars occupying the top 9 positions, and then a flurry of Pro-Am runners, and then the Am class drivers towards the rear of the field. Everybody in the Pro-Am category has opted to put their bronze driver in for the start, with the exception of the 24 Greystone GT McLaren, which is being started by Ollie Webb, the car he shares with Andre Borodin. But everybody else going for their bronze driver, banking on an early safety car to bring the drivers back together again for when they hand over to the pros in the second stint. Now, this is the car that's starting on pole position. Maxi Goetz starting the number 71 Team Motor Park Mercedes, the car that is second in the championship after 2 second-place finishes in Portimao. They did use an extra set of tyres compared to the likes of SVC and Elite Motorsport. Now, they were hoping that was going to pay dividends for them in the race, but unfortunately, wet tyres are the order of the day. So Mercedes has kind of been able to have their cake and eat it too. Absolutely.
I mean, that is just a case of strategizing your weekend. Of course, it's always a mystery how the weather's going to behave here at Spa. We know that. It's a microclimate. Norbert Siedler steps in, though, for Alex Fontana alongside Pietro Armani in the ZRS Porsche. They, of course, took the opening race victory of this season in great style. And what a moment as well for this small family-run car racing team that progressed out of GT Cup Europe. Zach Meekin looking to dispel the horrors for Greystone from 12 months ago. He lines up alongside Dean McDonald, who was part of that with James Kell last year. They were dominant out in front, but due to an electronic failure, their day was brought to an end. They're hoping for something a little different this time, and they are starting from 5th place, 3rd row of the grid. Mackenzie Cresswell also lining up alongside with a fellow Greystone GT McLaren 720S. We've got Marcelo Ramirez, as you can see there. He'll be starting behind Cresswell with Yaroslav Veselaho, of course, alongside Yifei, who returns to the GT Sport Organisation banner 6 years on from his debut under it in the Euro Formula Open Championship, where he went on to take the championship title. Since then, has been a phenomenal talent. Many successes in the realms of LMP2 and a Ferrari factory driver. He lines up alongside another car that houses a Ferrari factory driver in Tommaso Mosca, who's just giving some final words of wisdom to Rafael Duran, who will also be starting inside the top 10 ahead of our Pro-Am leader, SPS Performance Mercedes, who are a hair's breadth away from taking what could have been an astonishing win at Portimao. They're hoping to go one step further, and a big win in class at Spa certainly wouldn't hurt here, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see Dexter Muller and the Carbon crew back for the 500-kilometre races, because they did not partake last year. And PTT Racing making their debut in the GT Open, the sole BMW M4 on the grid. And it is Hubert Demetko who will start the number 7 car that has been very rapid in a straight line. Libor Milotic starting the ISR Audi, and that is the car that was quickest in the bronze test and lines up from 3rd in the Pro-Am category. ISR very, very confident about their chances at a podium. We have a number of guest entries for this weekend as well. This is one of them, Optimum Motorsport, bringing Morgan Tilbrook and Ben Barnicat to this race weekend. We also have guest appearances from 2C's Motorsport and also Iron Lynx a bit further down the field in the Am and Pro-Am category respectively. That's the Pro-Am Championship leader, Charles Bateman, and Johnny Adam makes his return to GT Open this weekend as the full season driver in that Blackthorn Yellow Zebra Aston Martin that Enrique Chavez was driving last time out in Portimao.
Yeah, just caught a glimpse of the FAG Auto Tech team as well. Alexander Schwarzer taking the opening stint. Marcin Jedlinski for Olymp Racing Ferrari stepping in. Of course, Carol Bash will be weighing in alongside. They were hoping for a better qualifying performance. Did not quite pan out for them on this occasion. Vincent Abril, though, back again alongside Laurent Demeus, of course. Laurent Demeus hails Vincent Abril as one of the most, nearly got his hand trapped in the door then.
Oh, dear.
As one of the most talented drivers he's ever worked with in Vincent Abril, and quite rightly so, of course, stepping away from professional racing, but still wants to get involved and obviously help drivers such as Laurent Demeus progress. Darren Kell alongside James Kell, the two Kells now racing together. Of course, it was James Kell last year who was alongside Dean McDonald when they had that failure whilst they were dominating out in front. It all came to a head. And here is Amir Naran. Interesting story about this car, of course. We have got a debutant in GT3 racing as a whole, not just in the International GT Open, in Theodor Jensen, reigning champion, of course, in ELMS, has done well in ELMS as well, fresh out of single-seaters. And I got talking to Scott Noble as well today, talking about his start in racing. He's only been racing 5 years. The reason he did it, he got bored during COVID, decided I want to get on a racetrack, and that's exactly what he did. And he's been with 2Cs now for a lengthy period of time and is enjoying every minute of it.
Absolutely. Familiar face in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship this year. As further down, we had the Goodspeed team. Piotr Viera starting 3rd in the AM category. It's the first appearance of the season for his teammate Thomas Magjarz, the former professional footballer, midfielder for Warta Poznan. He makes his first appearance of the season, but it's Viera who starts the Goodspeed Aston Martin. A beautiful 31 cars ready to do battle over the course of the next 72 laps is the magic number we're looking for over the next 2 hours and 55 minutes plus 1 lap. So whichever of those comes first. 8 different manufacturers represented on the grid. And it is the second meeting of the season for the International GT Open.
So let's take you back approximately 3 weeks ago. Of course, we went racing for the first time this season at Portimao. It was a great start for ZRS. Of course, Pietro Armani lining up alongside Alex Fontana. Very rough wheel-to-wheel racing. Tommaso Mosca, though, getting the jump coming out of Turn 2 and Turn 3. And then, of course, we had the pit situations occurring as well, with new tyres getting changed and the driver changes coming into play as well. It wouldn't be simple, though, for the Ferrari. They had their own fair share of problems. It opened the door then for the 911 Porsche in their first start of the International GT Open, making a little bit of history for this little team. The little engine that could roared to victory. Race 2 then got underway, starting up at the front. Dean McDonald looking ever more imposing. Yannick Mettler was just behind him, also getting a decent start at the same time, putting the pressure on the 720S in front. Eventually, we did see, of course, coming into play, Maxi Goertz and Christian Mansell looking to try and hunt down our race leaders, but of course, still a lengthy amount of work to do. The Elite Racing Ferrari team back again after their successful run last season. We saw, though, spins elsewhere. The Ferrari, unfortunately, coming to a head, coming in towards the final corner. It would, though, go to Dean McDonald and Zach Meakin, taking their first win in race 2 this season. So this is how the championship currently stands. We've got Dean McDonald and Zach Meakin on 25 points in front, only by a single point, however, to Christian Mansell and Maxi Goertz, who went second back-to-back back at Portimao in the Algarve. Pietro Armani and Alex Fontana not too far behind, but remember, Fontana not here today, so Armani flying alongside Seidler. Well, the race is just around the corner, folks. We're all on tender hooks, but let's take you through the starting grid. From start to finish, Maxi Gertz on pole position, lines up alongside of Rodrigo Testa. Of course, they were fantastic in qualifying earlier on today. Moncini will be appearing in the second half. Tom Emson starting on the second row alongside Norbert Siedler for ZRS Motorsport Porsche. Sam Meakin alongside Mackenzie Cresswell. It's an all Greystone third row. We then move on down to Marcelo Ramirez in 7th, alongside Yaroslav Veselaho in the AF Corsa Ferrari. He'll be handing over to Yifei Ye at the driver change. Rafael Duran, of course, will be representing for AF Corsa as well in 9th. In 10th place, Carbon by SPS, Dexter Muller, highest Pro-Am, ahead of Hubert Darmetko in their first race of the season, a big one as well. Libor Milotta lines up alongside him on the 6th row. We then have Michael Blanchimont for Santalok Racing in a green livery this year, of course. Morgan Tilbrook in their first appearance in the GT Open, guest appearance for Optimum Motorsport. Great to see them back, by the way. They're on 14th. We move down to 15th. Charles Bateman in at Blackthorn. He's got Alexander Schwarzer for company on the 8th row of the grid. We then move on down to P17, and it's Marcin Jedlinski taking the start for a Lib Racing Ferrari alongside Laurent de Beus in the AF Corsa Ferrari 296. Then heading down into 19th place, it's Darren Kell lining up alongside son James Kell. Amir Naran meeting him on the 10th row as well. He'll be trading in for Theodore Jensen. And then 21st place, the American import Scott Noble coming in at 2Cs, with 22nd place going to Joel Monegro Reyes. Then Puerto Vera in 23rd alongside Alfredo Hernandez in 24th place. Grupo Prom Racing Team featuring ahead of Khalil Alet Larka in Into Africa Racing by Dragon. Alongside him, though, Adrian Lewandowski. Marcello Hahn lines up on 27th place for AF Corsa with Michelo Pedersen Racing, with Lars Engelbrecht Pedersen starting from 28th. We then have Oliver Webb lining up for Greystone as well. Very strongly armed Greystone this weekend, with Andre Fernandez in 30th spot as well. Of course, at the very bottom, we do, of course, have Stanislav Jedlinski and Christian Korzanowski, but a lot of twisting and turning, no doubt, as we make our way through the course of this race. Of course, at the head of the order, it's all on Gertz. They're going to be looking to break away early, Chris.
Yes, absolutely. And so things to consider here, George. We've got 3 driver change windows, 3 pit stops that they're going to have to go through. 14-minute windows, that'll be 37 minutes into the race, an hour and 21 into the race, and then 2 hours and 5 into the race. It is at the 3rd and final pit stop where the handicaps are served. And this is critical because that pole position car is carrying 10 seconds of handicap owing to their 2 second-place finishes from Portimao. That may be why they've gone for Gertz, so that he's in the car before that critical final pit stop where the handicap is going to be served, and then bring Christian Mansell in to bring it home.
It's not as if they're lacking pace with Mansell either, to be honest with you. He was fastest in the first qualifying session. Of course, remember, the grid is decided ultimately by average pole time. So that is the time combined from Q1 and Q2. It averages out, and that decides our running order. And, of course, it was both Gertz and Mansell that topped the timesheets in their respective qualifying sessions.
It's worth remembering as well, the 33 Greystone McLaren, the championship leading car, also has 10 seconds, as does the 44 for being a guest entry. But the elite car and, crucially, the SVC Lamborghini do not have handicap. Neither does the ZRS Motorsport Porsche that lines up in 4th position as well. So, because they've already burned off their handicap from the win in Portimao. So we'll remind you of that handicap situation before that 3rd and final pit stop. But for now, we will keep our eyes at the head of the field. Mercedes, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche, McLaren, all represented at the head of this field.
Mercedes chasing a 3rd consecutive win in the Spa 500. It started in 2008, the story of Spa in the International GT Open. It was 2022 where we would witness the first 500 endurance race. That was, of course, taken by the Lamborghini pairing of Leonardo Polcini and Benjamin Hites, who went on to take the championship title that year. Sam Dehan, Charlie Fagg the following year also went on to take the title in their respective seasons. So 3 of the winners of the Spa 500 have gone on to take the International GT Open Championship crown. At least one of them anyway. It was reversed last season. But as the cars now make their way around the bus stop chicane, it's all down to what they do when the lights go green. They're going to be trickling towards The start-finish line, the crowd waits with bated breath, as do the teams and the drivers, as we put pedal to the metal, and it's go! Go, 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 go! A brilliant start for Gertz, not so good for Rodrigo Testa, a move up the inside for the Elite Racing Ferrari team, who are going for second place very early on, and indeed Tom Empson has snatched it. He's taken second and falling back. Rodrigo Testa not getting a great launch at all. Just look at this as well from Norbert Siedler getting a run out of the first corner. He is following that Elite Motorsport Ferrari. SVC still under pressure as well, though, because Zach Meakin is hovering all over the back of him right now as they fly up the hill through towards the Kemmel Straight. It is Gertz who's managed to clock out in front. He has got a healthy gap in between himself and Empson for now. Empson more concerned about Norbert Siedler in behind as we ride on board here with Zach Meakin on the run up through towards Les Combes, wheel to wheel, further up inside the distance. Gertz taking Les Combes, no harm, no foul, all in order. No crashes at the start here, Chris. A clean race start.
And a change for the lead in Pro-Am as well, with Hubert Demetko moving up the inside of Dexter Muller. He is technically a silver class driver, but has been allowed to enter the Pro-Am category owing to his inexperience compared to the other silver class drivers. So that is a change for the lead going into Les Combes at the first time of asking a PTT lead on debut. But what great stuff from the Porsche, just threading the needle. Siedler finding his way out of La Source and up into third position. Now the cars are on wet tyres, we believe, but there is a dry line already forming. That's side by side with Libor Milota making a move on Charles Bateman further down in the Pro-Am category. That should be for around 5th position in that class. Bateman, the championship leader going into this weekend.
Yeah, Bateman just had a little bit of a moment there coming in towards Pouan, cost him a little bit of time, and therefore the place was therefore sacrificed.
But look at Visalaho under pressure from the Pro-Am cars. So Hubert Demetko's already gone through, and Muller and co already on him. They're being closely followed by Alexander Schwarzer as well in the FARC Autotech Porsche. Look at those two McLarens as well, running very closely together on the run out of curve Paul Frere. It's the 33 that leads the 44 at the moment. Meakin ahead of Cresswell. Yeah,
really strong start. Both Greystones will be happy with this race start. Of course, it is a long race. It's all about just staying in it. It's like any enduro, really. Make sure you go the distance. As we now watch them come together, it's almost in sync on the run down through towards the bus stop chicane. Great start, though, for Tom Empson.
Yeah, really great stuff. Second in the Ferrari at the moment. The gap less than 9/10 of a second as they cross the line for the first time. Made that 1.1 seconds. Timing screen just updates itself eventually. And so Gertz leads by just over a second to Empson. Rodrigo Testa still in third position, it's showing. That must be a dicky transponder on the Porsche, I'm sure of it, unless it's... Yeah, we can see it on the road, but it's not showing on our timing screen at the moment, so we need
know it's there.
Get the... Yes, so someone's going to have to look out the window and manually check that one in.
There we go.
It's just popped up on our timing screen now, so yeah, it is Siedler in third, Testa in fourth position, but they're already looking for the wet patches on the racetrack, George. I think maybe even when we get to the first driver change window, they could well be going for slick tyres as Hubert Demetko looks to make another move, this time on Marcelo Ramirez, so another of the pro class cars, as Muller and Duran are pretty close together on the racetrack at the moment as well. But if they do end up going for slicks, then that could throw the strategy out, because they probably want to keep Gertz out for a fair bit of time in this stint.
I was about to say that, because this obviously, as we now see some moves going on obviously in the higher echelons. SVC under pressure at the moment from Greystone once again, so Testa against Meakin on the run down through towards Pouan. We are riding on board here with Zach Meakin now, the young British driver, of course, for the British team, alongside this Flying Scotsman Dean McDonald, who will be taking the next stint as well when the driver change window opens up in approximately 33 or so minutes, as they now head down through towards the Lafanier chicane, and still in behind Mackenzie Cresswell, happily just waiting in the wings. A very wide line again, very deep line taken to the chicane there from SVC's Testa, which isn't going to help him in this scenario as well. They're just really searching for the different wet lines there, and indeed a more optimal line taken by Zach Meakin once more, and that Lamborghini now, it's almost a sleeping policeman in the middle. He needs to try and get past him, because the gap between those right at the front is starting to only enlarge.
It's good to just see the SVC Lamborghini running. It's their first racing laps of the season. Didn't take part in Portimao at all after their engine blew out on Thursday testing, and they weren't able to source a replacement. Yeah, pretty close between the Lamborghini and the two pro McLarens, who are incredibly closely matched. We know that Zach Meekin has been very rapid. 200th race winner in the International GT Open. It was confirmed after Portimao. And Mackenzie Cresswell, only his second ever race weekend in a GT3 car. So he is on a very steep learning curve at the moment.
But he is a GT4 Winter Series champion, however, so he does have some pedigree in terms of sports car racing. It's not quite at the GT3 level just yet, but always a promising sign to see him obviously racing towards the front of a grid in light of this. So making their way up the hill now for Arouge and Radion. Just see there Darmetco, PTT with a grand return to the GT Sport organisation. Had some success in the past in GT Cup Europe. They're now leading Pro-Am class here in the beginning of this 500 race.
We had change for the lead-in AM as well. Scott Noble, the pole sitter, now third in his category, because through has gone Joel Monegro and Marcello Hahn in the car that is second in the AM Championship going into this weekend. So the Brazilian leading that category at the moment. That was a touch. That was a touch there between the rear of Testa's Lamborghini and the front of Meekin's McLaren. That's going all the way around the outside of Rivage. It's going to get squeezed out, but he did just have a wheel on the racetrack still. Now with the inside line going into Speaker's Corner, and Meekin gives a little shove back. And that allows the sister McLaren to go through as well. So that is 4th, 5th and 6th position being disputed there.
Tag team racing by Greystone GT. You love to see it. Brilliant stuff by both Zach Meek and Mackenzie Cresswell gaining places. Obviously slightly disappointing there for SVC, but they've been struggling, it has to be said by the looks of it, in this initial. Obviously not taking necessarily the same lines that we have seen Greystone really taking that, hence why Zach Meekin was applying the pressure that he was. But now their job is to try and close the gap to the back of Norbert Siedler in 3rd place. Gertz, though, still out in front. Not really an enlarging gap between Gertz and Emson as Christian Mansell waits in the garage.
Are you texting Christian? Chill as anything.
Well, I'm sure that he's got his fair share of supporters. Megan, of course, his mother, who has supported him right through, as all his family have, in his single-seater journey, coming out of Formula 2, and has really fallen in love with sports car racing in GT3.
I am really, really impressed by the pace of Tom Empson here. Norbert Siedler, very experienced driver, and that Porsche is quite quick in the wet as well. Not downplaying the job that Norbert Siedler and the ZRS crew are doing at all. But young Tom Empson, in between two much more experienced drivers at the moment, and really holding his own. The pace is very strong. In fact, on that previous lap was a little bit quicker than Maxi Gertz, although did lose a little bit of time in the last sector there. As we got dramas for the ISR Audi. Libor Milota going through the gravel trap. Now that car was fighting for a podium place in the Pro-Am category, if I remember rightly. He is now down in 6th position in his class. Yeah, well, we're going to take a look at a replay as well. This is the moment where Greystone uprooted SVC Lamborghini, got pushed right onto the curb there. You don't want to be there in these conditions. Very, very treacherous, but instant response. The receipt taken by Zach Meekin. The SVC Lamborghini dipping its rear right into the gravel is now through goes the 911 Porsche and Norbert Siedler. So just as we were positively speaking about Tom Empson keeping that Porsche at bay, Norbert Siedler, taking exception to that, moves into 2nd place. Oh, sorry, Tommy. But what's very clear is that the overnight engine change they've done on that elite Ferrari, the crew was here until 5 a.m. on Saturday morning, is definitely paying dividends, because they've got some real speed inside that car. I think maybe Empson might be starting to struggle with tyre pressures or tyre temperatures. It's so difficult
it could be the nature of the track itself.
But in these conditions, it's so difficult to know what to do with the pressures, because if you get them up too early, then they're going to have too much pressure and too much temperature in them later in the stint. So it's always a fine balancing act between getting pace early on and then having it for the rest of the stint.
Yeah. Of course, we've got the team at ZRS watching behind the scenes. Like I said, very close run family affair. Of course, Eleonora, the team manager in her early 20s. Her brother Ricardo, of course, the head mechanic. Only a young man as well in his early 20s. Also a big mishmash coming through the Lefania chicane. That was the Santaloc Racing Audi you just witnessed making its way through the field, obviously trying to push its way onwards and upwards. Of course, Jim Plant will be jumping in that later on after Michael Blanchimont.
So that's been a change for third position in Pro-Am, George, because Blanchimont's gone through on Dexter Muller, and he now has the championship leader on his tail in the form of Charles Bateman aboard the Yellow Zebra. Aston Martin from Blackthorn Racing are on board with Blanchimont, going through Blanchimont. Not related at all, spelt very different actually, but
yep.
The 26 Audi making its way through. It's got a great view of the Rafael Duran AF Corsica as they've all gone round Muller in that instance. And so actually Bateman is now already on the back of the third place Audi in the Pro-Am category. So unfortunately Dexter Muller starting to drop down a little bit in the car that was started on pole position in its category.
Yeah, they still all clubbed together. Dexter Muller tucked in behind the ISR Audi on the run out of La Source now. See whether any gains can be made here in this stint, though. The rain continues to fall and just see it splattering. Of course, that might be lifting off the rear tyres of the 51 of Rafael Duran as well. They're going to head up through a Rouge and rally on to see the commitment to the curbs there as well. Certainly not afraid to take every ounce of it. Feathering a little bit of throttle, though, at the same time, because, of course, very tricky. No way you can take it flat in these GT3 beasts, despite the drivers, of course, attempting to maximise their performance heading uphill. And a little flash of the lights once again, this time from the Ferrari in behind Marcelo Ramirez. They now head in towards Les Combes. Rafael Duran still forced to stay in behind. Michael Blanchimont, though, with a positive run so far, looking really strong here and representing really well in P3 and Pro-Am at the moment. It's still Darmetco, though, for PTT Racing. Could be a Cinderella story for them on their return to the GT Open.
It could well be. Maxi Goetz, meanwhile, found more than a second last time around on the Norbert Siedler Porsche. The gap now 3.5 seconds between the leaders. So they were in a bit of a group earlier, but they're really starting to spread out now as Goetz starts to put the hammer down. We'll see what pace Siedler has got in clean air. Yes, he was getting around Empson on that previous lap, but I don't think that explains the full time loss on that previous lap. We really are starting to see a dry line appearing in certain parts of the racetrack. I'll be fascinated to see what the tyre options are when they come in the next 25 minutes.
I mean, this, again, going back to the conversation, I mean, you can really see the line by here, actually. A real contrast in colouring of the grey surface that we see on the circuit coming through Blanchimont. But going back to Goetz, we would have expected him to take the majority of this first stint regardless before Mansell steps in. Naturally, that's all thrown into question if all of a sudden we do need to start moving and looking at the dry tyres.
And it isn't necessarily a question of speed, it's more a question of experience, especially in a race like this. Empson going wide into the bus stop chicane, he's really under pressure now for third position. So it's a really nice start for Tom Empson, but that elite Ferrari not working well in these conditions now, it would seem. As Zach Meakin looks to the outside, then looks to the inside at La Source. And side by side for third position, these two young guns of GT3 Racing in their sophomore year in the category, going toe to toe here. As Empson leads Meakin heading towards Eau Rouge. No, you're not going to go through there, Zach.
No, far
you're
too
not going to put him off there either.
Absolutely.
Nice try, though.
Yeah, definitely a nice try. But Kemmel might be a little bit more rewarding. We know the Ferrari, though, can be quick in a straight line, but in comes the 720S on the move. And now already you can see Empson trying to coax its way to the inside, obviously taking the optimal defensive position. Is that going to bother Zach Meakin? No, he's going to try and take it all the way around the outside. He might have got the move done before the apex of the corner. Just about smoothly does it. Zach Meakin into P3.
Yeah, the problem you've got now, because the dry line is on the outside, so if you defend, you're actually putting yourself on the wet line.
That's true, very true.
And they're still looking for the water.
I believe they call that a rock in a hard place.
Yes, it is a little bit, because a bit damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
But a change between those two. Oh, that was Mackenzie Cresswell off the road at Rivage. Now, luckily, there is not as much gravel there as there was maybe 15 years or so ago, and so he's able to get away with that one.
Yeah, just took a bit of a wide run, maybe just missed the zone ever slightly. But did manage to recover. That's what's important. Obviously, we've had a really clean start to this race. I mean, generally speaking, especially at turn one, when we have the mass, should we say, onslaught going through the first corner when all the cars begin, you get bogged down, and that's where you find your spins. We had a few of them last year. It's a recurring theme. Today, no such thing.
Yeah, there have been a couple of messy starts in this race before. I think Race Control really hammered it home to the drivers in the briefing on Thursday. it is a near on 3-hour race, guys.
It's not one at turn one. It really isn't. It's not one at turn one. Conditions not afflicting Gertz. We take a look at a replay of the race start. Good start from Gertz. Rodrigo Testa getting caught, though, at the beginning. This was where Tom Emson really did, though, make a sincere impression. Just look at this, coming down the inside in a yellow 296, and following suit as well, the Porsche, the 911 Porsche making its way through as well, with Norbert Siedler at the wheel. There you can see, of course, the runners and riders towards the rear also making their way through as well. This is the view from Zach Meeking's his cockpit at the moment, so he's there glued to the inside. On the outside, you see the 911 Porsche. We would have thought that with a bit of fortune, a bit of luck, he might have got the run even on the Porsche to the left-hand side, but it wasn't to be. But just look at that, cleanly as you like. Maybe a little bit of rubbing, a little bit of paintwork, maybe scrubbed off in places, but no spinners. So incredible stuff from all the drivers on the grid.
Lead gap has come down 2.1 seconds. The lap before last, Norbert Siedler did the fastest lap of the race.
There he is.
So, yeah, it's coming down. It was another 0.2 of a second taken on that previous lap. So keep an eye on Norbert Siedler in the second part of this opening stint.
And that was despite Gertz taking a purple middle sector over the last lap as well, with a personal best lap.
Yes.
So that's quite something.
Very interesting. The Porsche works so well in these conditions, though, doesn't it? Ollie Webb making good progress in the Pro-Am category. We started towards the rear of the field. He's up to 9th in category and 19th position overall. Now, of course, remember, he was the only pro to start in the Pro-Am category, but good to see Webb getting his elbows out a little bit and using them, as we have Marcelo Ramirez here under pressure from Charles Bateman. So Ramirez in 11th position at the moment. Bateman behind 4th in the Pro-Am category. And right around the outside of Malmedy, that wasn't an overtaking opportunity. Where did that even come from? Lovely stuff. He hasn't quite got it done yet, because Ramirez will have the inside line when they get to Rivage, and the Aston has to leave so much space on the inside, and wide goes the championship leading car. Through goes Libor Milota, through goes Rafael Duran as well, and Bateman, what started as an awesome overtaking opportunity, actually ends up losing him 2 places.
Well, I honestly thought it was going to be a full-on Milota, through goes Milota moment, but unfortunately not. Of course, he did have Marcelo Ramirez. I did have a vision I believe it was going to come to pass at the time coming through Rivage, that he was going to just sleuth up the inside and make it happen on Marcelo Ramirez. Not quite, though, but clearly Charles Bateman perhaps taking exception to that. He's all over the back of Duran at the moment, who is currently in the midst of this huge Pro-Am tussle. Let's take a look at this again. So you've got Bateman on the left-hand side, right as we're looking at it. Then on the inside, you've got Ramirez, who essentially almost pushes him out wide a little bit, so he's got to try and regather the car, because on that paint it's going to be quite slippy, but forfeiting 2 places off the back of trying to make the move at Lecom. It just wasn't profitable, but he's on the back of Rafael Duran at the moment. Here comes Laurent Demeus, of course, taking the opening stint of this one. Vincent Abril will be swapping into the car when the driver change window rolls around in just over 19 minutes time. They're now going to venture through towards the Bonchimon section. Milota now once again pressing the Marcelo Ramirez Mercedes just in front as they now come through the final 2 corners.
Nothing separating those 7 cars, but Ramirez runs wide in the bus stop chicane. So that opens up the door for Libor Milota, who might have a run. Bateman looking to recover a couple of those places as well. Ramirez did get it back onto the racetrack. Here comes Dexter Muller, trying to recover some of the places he's lost since the start of the race. Looking down the inside on Bateman. Bails out of that one, though. But look at this. I'm loving this. We've got Mercedes, Audi, Ferrari, Aston Martin, McLaren right in the thick of this action. And it's an interclass battle as well between some of the Pro-Am runners and the young silver class drivers who are coming up through the ranks and learning the ropes here in the GT Open.
Yeah, Laurent Demeus having a good run on this as well. Obviously just staying in behind these runners in front, and all he has to do is manage his race. He knows that Vincent Abril's going to be hopping in the next stint, and we know how quick he is. So we'll look forward to seeing what they can pull out of the back here. It's wheel to wheel, though, further up between Milota and Ramirez once more. Milota trying to do what Bateman tried to do a lap ago. Is he going to commit? Still on the racetrack, not bad, but unable to get any momentum. Just hanging on the curb there on the outside. Here comes Duran as well. Bateman in full flow. Dexter Muller just watching him behind. In comes now as well the Optimum Motorsport McLaren around the outside. So they're going side by side. Noah's Ark through Rivage. There goes the McLaren wide. Muller holds on. Round goes the Optimum McLaren, the 27 of Morgan Tilbrook, moving off the track, and will have to rejoin safely.
Yeah, so almost near identical to what happened to Bateman on the previous lap, except this time the McLaren went around. And there we can see the other McLaren, the blue and yellow machine of Ollie Webb. He'll be on these guys and carving his way through pretty quickly. Raphael Duran going wide in the middle of Pouhon. As we see again, the moment for Morgan Tilbrook. Just get wide in the middle of the corner, and there's no grip on that runoff area. And so the British GT race winner having to correct the car and continue on his way. We've had another change for the lead, by the way, in Pro-Am. While we were looking at all that, it is now the FARC Autotech Porsche Alexander Schwarzer that leads from Hubert Demetko. 2.5 seconds his advantage in 7th position overall. Lovely job from the new Porsche squad.
This Pro-Am, it just goes to show how competitive this Pro-Am field really is this season, because we've had so many changes already for the race lead.
And the importance of the bronze drivers, George, is what we keep talking about. The pro drivers, there may be 3/4 of a second between the best and the worst in there, but you can have several seconds a lap between the best and the worst bronze drivers. It's such a wide range of category for the drivers, and so they really do make the difference in these races.
And many of them also have tracks that they love, and maybe tracks that they may not love as much, and obviously some are better and others, you know, that's just the way it works. That's racing for you. I mean, we chat to Dexter Muller. Whilst, of course, he loves racing, of course he does the International GT Open, he would admit to you that Spa isn't his best track, and naturally, it's always difficult for him to perhaps get it right. But look at this. They started on pole position in Pro-Am. Who knows? I mean, obviously, we've got Yannick Mettler coming through, and as Dexter Muller pointed out, and we all know this, Yannick Mettler loves an endurance race.
He certainly does. As it's getting close for position between Libor Milotte and Charles Bateman. That's for 4th position in the category. Look at Laurent Demeus going really, really well in that blue and white AF Course Ferrari. Car shares with Vincent Abril. Muller piling on the pressure on young Raphael Duran as well. And the car he shares with Tommaso Mosca, the Spanish-American 20-year-old driver, in 14th position as it stands. Checking with the race leaders. The lead gap has stabilized somewhat. It is now 2.6 seconds between Maxi Goetz and Norbert Siedler. And it's going to be fascinating to see the dynamic between Christian Mansell and Pietro Armani when they get aboard these cars. Also for the 33 as well, because they'll have Dean McDonald getting into that car as well, and he's only 6 seconds off the race leader at the moment. Is the 33. So it's still all to play for. 4 different manufacturers inside the top 4 as it stands.
Yeah, Dexter Muller also confirming his spot above Raphael Duran as well. So it's a real nice gain there for Dexter Muller.
Yes.
Getting his move done, coming out of Pouhon. Now this is the car that spun earlier on, Morgan Tilbrook.
Oh no, he's done it again.
Yeah, unfortunately, very nearly catching the 2 Cs of Scott Noble as well, but no harm, no foul for Noble, who carries on. And the same piece of racetrack, you do wonder whether that's the confidence element. You've spun there before, it's on your mind.
Yeah.
You're likely to spin again.
Have you been watching me do sim racing over the last couple of years? George, that's kind of my mentality, actually.
Well, I've been there too, trust me. I mean, I've done my fair share of sim racing as well. I know how that works.
Another change for the lead in AM this time. I think Marcello Hans had some sort of drama, actually, because he's dropped well down from the class leader. He's now 3rd in his category, so it is now Joel Monegro who leads that category. FARC Autotech leading both of the categories they're competing in as it stands. So really, really nice job from the Swiss team in the early stages of this race.
Yeah, Milotta giving Ramirez a headache as well, coming down through bus stop. We just witnessed them going wheel to wheel. Confirmation of Muller overtaking Duran now. He's updated on our timing screen to 14th place. As now we see Darmetko making the climb up through Eau Rouge and Radioni behind the 96 Ferrari of Jaroslav Veselaho. Of course, we'll be swapping out for Yifei later on his return under the GT Sports organisation banner, now on from his many successes in LMP2. Of course, a mainstay Ferrari factory driver at the same time as well, so it's a pleasure to have him back.
Overall Le Mans winner last year with Robert Kubica and Phil Hansen in the Yellow Submarine. It was a heck of a day for Le Mans history.
There we go.
Getting very close between Milota and Ramirez. They go side by side into Les Combes, and the Audi just cuts across the inside. That opens up the door for the yellow zebra to go through. Charles Bateman takes 4th position away from the ISR Audi.
Well, this time it's Bateman who gets a bit of luck coming on the outset of the Les Combes section. It's not like it was before. This time he profits off the back of this, as we now watch as the 55 of Laurent Demeus now comes under pressure from Joel Monegro-Reyes, leading AM class at the moment and starting to mix things up now with the Pro-Am and Pro drivers.
Yeah, he's right on the back of Demeus there, isn't he? So that's 17th position overall for the AM leader. He is 4 seconds ahead of his next class rival, which is Scott Noble in the guest-entered 2Cs Motorsport Mercedes. I think Bateman now trying to make the move on Ramirez. I think it was the move he was trying to make on Ramirez earlier when he had the moment at Rivage. So seconds out, round 2.
Yep. Revenge now on the table here for Charles Bateman.
Whoa. Look at Ollie Webb now on the scene. They're going around the slow-moving Olymp Ferrari, but Ollie Webb now on the back of this train of cars, and expect him to start carving his way through.
Yeah, no doubt. Of course, in the McLaren, very strong McLaren entries, of course, this time around. There's Scott Noble.
That's a slow-moving
Very
Scott Noble.
slow-moving. Yeah, and the rear light flashing on the back as well, Chris.
There was I don't know if it was steam or smoke coming out the front right there potentially, but that could be dramas for the second-place car in the AM category.
Yeah, of course, not an ideal place to be if you are experiencing technical difficulties at a time like this, certainly in an initial stint of a race like this. And my goodness, yeah, parked up, and you can just see the I'm not sure whether that's just steam off the hot car that's just coming off there or something else, but doesn't look altogether good from our perspective.
That could be a safety car, though, George. They may well have to throw that one out.
Which is terrible news for Gertz, really, because obviously he's 3.6 up. He's going to lose that time to Norbert Siedler now. So, I mean, I appreciate handicaps don't come into play until the last pit stop, but still at the same time, you want to try and nourish a large margin of advantage.
Marcello Hahn, who is now going to inherit second place in the AM category, has been noted for passing Darren Kell off the racetrack. So he may well have to yield that spot. That's an inter-class battle by... dramas for Laurent Demeus. He's stopped. Now that looks like at the top of Eau Rouge.
Well,
there's been some dramas in there.
There's a mirror off there as well. You can actually see it's missing off the right-hand side of the car. Left as you're looking at it, folks. So he's obviously made contact with something. It's just literally sitting there.
Well, damage to the rear of the car as well.
So maybe it's either he's hit the barrier, but I would say maybe contact with something else.
And that is at the top of Radion. That's a scary place to have an accident. We're going to see what happens here. Oh no! He's got a puncture.
Yeah,
a rear lift puncture, and oh my goodness, the front of the car started lifting up there as well. My goodness, that could have taken off.
Yeah.
So the damage is from the barriers, and goodness, but poor Laurent Demeus, who was having a really, really strong race, and the full course yellow has been called because we've now got 2 cars stopped at the side of the road, one that has gone into the barriers. And, wow, goodness me, poor Laurent Demeus.
Yeah, that is a real shame. He was a passenger in that situation, really. And, nothing he could have really done to prevent that.
That's a bizarre one as well. That's the second puncture that we've seen for an AF Corsa car this season. I mean, there was Tommaso Mosca at the end of lap 1 or lap 2 in Portimao in the first race of the season, the 51 car. And now seeing this as well.
I seem to remember, I'm not sure whether it was a season or so ago, there was an Oregon Lamborghini that did something reasonably similar. There was like a swapper.
They had like 3 punctures in Monza, didn't they, on all 3 of their cars?
Very similar situation in a sense, but they also had something at Spa, I believe, a couple of years ago, where there was a swapper. Good to see him out of the car, though, obviously inspecting.
Very much so.
Yeah, they had, I think he's just gesturing, the marshal actually making sure that he's absolutely okay, and credit to them, they do an absolutely sterling job. But it's great to see Laurent Demeus out of the car, and will be transported back to the pit lane as well. But a very sad end to what has been a very strong start to a race for them, and I'm sure Vincent Abril is absolutely devastated for him as well.
He won't get to drive today, sadly.
No, he won't, which is a massive shame. And obviously we know how talented Vincent is. He's a fantastic driver. And we do, of course, wish the whole team well. Let's take a look at this again. This is the crash. So, yeah, it wasn't even on the curb or anything. It was just on the racetrack. And
see the front end start to lift as he crests the hill I've seen so many
see it
cars
better
take
here.
off. Yeah, you're really get a good view
Look
of
at
it.
that, the front end literally lifting off the ground as they come over the crest.
That must have been terrifying from inside the car.
Yeah, no question. And it's not as if he can see much either, because the car is rotating at the same time. So,
yeah,
you
just
know,
sky.
It's just sky that you're seeing, absolutely. So, yeah. So that is the situation. We're under full course yellow at the moment. Maxi Gert still at the moment leading the way. The gap, in accordance to our timing screen, 7.2 seconds. Watching Ramirez being followed down towards bus stop by Charles Bateman, Libor Milotta as well. This is the view from the Blackthorn garage, who of course will be issuing instructions to Charles Bateman as we speak.
Important note, if this full course yellow does last a while and stretches into the driver change window, you can come in under a full course yellow.
Yeah.
You cannot pit under a safety car.
No,
Crucial difference.
Correct. Yeah, massive difference as Laurent de Meyer starts toppling down the timing screen. Of course, others will now profit off the back of it. In terms of how they currently sit in terms of the other classes, Alexander Schwarzer of FAC Auto Tech still leading Pro-Am at the moment. They're ahead of Rodrigo Testa overall, but most importantly ahead of Hubert Darmetko of the PTT Racing BMW M4 team. Joel Monegro Reyes as well leading AM class at the moment, and a fair gap to Marcello Han, but I'm sure Marcello Han wouldn't be adverse to closing that gap somewhat. Very experienced driver in the realms of GT3, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely, and doing a really, really good job, especially considering that his nearest class rival might well be getting a penalty for passing off the racetrack. The Blau Motorsport crew has been called to raise control for that. I don't think we saw how Rodrigo Testa lost 6th overall to Alexander Schwarzer. So that is either a struggling 63, or Schwartz has just been that brilliant. But yeah, seeing
they've had a really tricky
ahead.
start to the race, in the sense that, I mean, we witnessed them basically being a moving bollard for Zach Meekin earlier on, because it just seemed to me that they weren't happy with any of the lines they were taking, and just, you know, it was very unusual, put it that way.
If it dries up, maybe the track will come to them a little bit, because yeah, like I say, 9 times out of 10 it comes down to tyres, and how you're using them, when you're getting the presses up, when they're getting into the optimum window. Keeping them in that optimum window
is a struggle.
Supposedly this new H2 and H2 Plus Michelin tyre that we're using for this year does have a nicer working window, which is good, because then it works better across the manufacturers. That's been the big plus with this new tyre for this year, and we are seeing it every session we've had a great mix of manufacturers showing speed.
Yeah, it's an incredibly versatile tyre. Also important to note that it is made at an all-green factory as well at the same time in France, zero emission. So doing their bit to support the efforts of a green culture in motorsport. So well done to them, and they're very proud of it. And obviously still pushing for greatness at Michelin, as they always do, and everyone raves about how great the Michelin rubber really is. As we now watch as the cars make their way up the hill through towards Les Combes. There's the 88 of the Kell partnership, of course, making their way around for Track Focused, and James Kell will be taking the seat when the driver change window opens up.
What these conditions do mean, George, sadly, is that I don't think we're going to be troubling Dean McDonald's lap record time from last year, in this
Probably
event
not.
last year, which was 2:15.264. And to give you a reference, we've been lapping...
Unless Dean does it again in his stint now very shortly.
Yeah, maybe, but... We have the not so much ideal conditions.
Well, no,
they've been lapping
that's if it dries.
2 minute 30 we've been lapping in at the moment. Look how close Zach Meekin is to Norbert Seeler. Important to note the pit window has been delayed.
Barriers need to be repaired at the top of Eau Rouge and Radion. So that's obviously due to the impact of Laurent de Meyer's hitting the barriers. So they need to go and repair that. So they have actually delayed the pit window, which is probably not terrible news if you're Motor Park right now, because obviously they can carry on. The plan remains the same pretty much.
So I think what this basically means is that if you've got your quicker driver in for stint 2, they're actually going to have less time on the racetrack, because they're not going to delay this second window. And this explains it. Full safety car deployed. Now that's why they've extended the pit window, because we now have a full safety car. It is up to race control's discretion. If they need to throw a safety car, they can delay or extend the pit window in order to accommodate the safety of the racetrack.
Yeah. Well, we've lost a couple now. We went from bigging up the race start to then all of a sudden losing a couple of cars. Obviously, 2 Cs, obviously coming to an end. Shame as well, their only appearance, and they're preparing as well for a charge at the Spa 24-hour.
Yes, so back to the drawing board for the Bahraini British team, unfortunately. What this does do, of course, this is going to bring everyone back together.
Yeah.
So the gap that Gertz had is going to be erased.
Yeah, gone.
It doesn't really affect anyone in the Pro-Am category, because all bar one of them have got their bronze driver in. So that means when the pros take over, pretty much as soon as this safety car is over, they'll all be diving into the pits, I imagine, to hand over to their pros. So that's going to be a bit of a reset, actually, and could be, well, it could be difficult for the 28, for the 96, and particularly for the 51 as well, because they've got Pro-Am cars between themselves and then their pro rivals, but those Pro-Am cars are about to have pros put aboard them. So you would expect normally, you know, your Mosca and Baumann to be charging up the order, but they're going to have very quick drivers in front of them.
And this also throws a huge lifeline now to obviously the drivers that were stuck behind Rodrigo Testa, obviously whilst they were perhaps a little bit uncomfortable during the start of the race. So I'm talking about the likes of Zach Meakin, Tom Empson, Mackenzie Cresswell.
Yes.
You know, they're going to be thrown right into the mixer again now when we go green again. This is a replay of the race start, though, everybody. Of course, looking back, Gertz having an unchallenged run up through towards the source, taking the overall lead onwards from their pole position start. We saw plenty of action, though, on the run up through towards Les Combes. Obviously, Rafael Duran, that's where he lost out to Dexter Muller. Side-by-side, SVC Lamborghini of Rodrigo Testa getting undone by Zach Meakin as well. And Mackenzie Cresswell would also dance his way through. Norbert Siedler would also move into second place, overtaking Tom Empson through the realms of Les Combes as well. Now, this was the moment Zach Meakin also managed to plant himself into third, wheel-to-wheel with the Ferrari 296 for Greystone GT McLaren, and he planted his car inside P3. We saw this moment as well between Marcelo Ramirez and Charles Bateman. The Aston Martin, unfortunately, getting caught, pushed out wide in that instance, and we're now currently under a safety car because of this specific incident from Laurent de Meus, who sadly, after a really promising start to the race, barreled into the barrier on the run-up through Rouge and Radion. So that's the highlight package for the start of this race so far. Still a lengthy portion to go, though. Well over 2 hours remain in this so far, but it's been enjoyable. The canvas is ready. We just need to paint it.
Yes, so we've completed lap 12. We're on lap 13 at the moment. 72 is the target for 500 kilometers, which is to be done within a 2-hour, 55-minute plus 1 lap window. So as long as we don't get too much safety car, we should be able to go the full 500-kilometer race distance. Just to give you an idea of where we're at in terms of that at the moment. So this will put FAC Autotech into a really great position overall, because they're about to hand over to their pro driver. And this is going to be a big moment as well for Fabien Di Bianca in the PTT car, because he's about to be thrust into a car that's in the top 10 with all the pro drivers around him. 17-year-old making his GT3 debut.
This is far apart from where PTT have been before in terms of competing, you know, in the GT sport organisation banner. Of course, we speak about their successes in GT Cup Europe all those years ago, coming back to the overall umbrella of the championship here in the International GT Open for the first time. And what an incredible opportunity here. Great to see the BMW M4 really working for them. Of course, it wasn't long ago they were testing at this track, of course, without the colours of the car put on. It was all in black for that period, but they managed to pull together. Just look at it, one of the most dynamic liveries you'll see on this grid as well, and it's fantastic to see the BMW on the grid.
Yeah, I have Max Hesse shaking down the car, and yeah, just really great to see another new team and an 8th manufacturer on the grid as well, thanks to the arrival of Aston Martin.
Another nice livery was the Manol, obviously Grupo Prom.
Yes,
car.
That's a great looking car.
Yeah, the Manol blue and yellow, very striking. Of course, they were gold last year when they were BDR Grupo Prom. And so obviously there are some changes inside the team, and it's reflected as well in the livery, and great to have them back as well at the same time. But yeah, still a lot more to come. We're still under safety car at the minute. Zach Meakin, we're currently riding on board with him at the moment, a young driver. And again, we talk about the young drivers, Chris. We're going to have Mansell stepping in place of Gertz when the driver change window opens up. Pietro Armani, talking to drivers that came through single seaters, not necessarily in the same championship, but aligned together on their run up through the junior single seater run, if you like, and now both stepping into GT3 racing together.
Yeah, it's true. Both of them coming from other GT Sport championships
Absolutely.
as well along the way. With
one from GT Cup, one from Euroformula.
Yeah, Christian Mansell in Euroformula. What was it, 4 years ago in 2022?
Back in 2022, yeah.
And Pietro Armani joining us from his very nearly championship-winning GT Cup campaign with the ZRS crew. It was the runner-up in that category. And they had a good races yesterday afternoon, finishing on the podium.
They did. And you could really see with Pietro Armani last year that despite they did not manage to win the championship crown, that Armani did have something special inside him.
There's a reason Alex Fontana was so excited to have him as his teammate this year, and we saw that in Portimao. Safety cars coming in this lap, George, so we're going to get back underway.
Yeah, very soon. Back under green flag conditions. The marshals doing the necessary work in order to ensure that we can go racing again. So big thank you to all of them around the racetrack for doing that. And now we have got the gaps reduced to minute levels as opposed to the vast ones we had before the unfortunate Laurent de Meus crash. There is the 88 track focus once again with the Blau Motorsport car just in behind.
They're all getting ready, Josh. They're all going to flurry in.
You can just see the intensity behind those eyes inside that helmet, of course. We were literally moments away from that driver change window period becoming very active indeed. Remember, of course, they couldn't change under the safety car, so as soon as that comes to an end, they can start comprehending that. But Gertz leads the way. Norbert Siedler now with renewed confidence that he can actually take the fight to Gertz now. Obviously, Zach Meakin will become part of it. Tom Empson, Mackenzie Cresswell, after their battles with Rodrigo Testa, they can now focus on what's going on right at the front of the order. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of part they have to play in the next segments of this particular race. And keep your eyes as well on Schwarzer. I do wonder if Darmetko's got more to come as well. Obviously, Testa in between him and the Pro-Am leader right now. So we'll see how that unfolds. Veselaho, of course, remember, will be swapping out for Yifei Ye when that time comes. Michael Blanchimon as well will be swapping out for Jim Pla. He's in Pro-Am P3 at the moment.
Oh, Darmetko's completely been caught napping on the safety car recently. He's not even gone. He's still not going.
No, he's left it late, and we've already pushed the button because Gertz is on the move, but it's been closely followed by Norbert Siedler, who responded brilliantly. We've hit pedal to the metal, folks, for the second time in this race here at Spa. A flash of the lights from Siedler, immediately now just looking to send a message perhaps to Maxi Gertz. Look into the wide outside line, coming through towards the source. Now that will give him a lovely run, you'd fathom, coming up through towards Eau Rouge and Radion, where he could potentially utilise the speed coming over the crest. We'll see whether that does work out for him. Wheel to wheel further back as well. It looks like the FAC Autotech Porsche coming into the mix too, as they now look to climb the mountain and through towards Kemmel here this time. At the moment, Siedler, Gertz, currently manacled together. Meakin as well down in third, with Empson and Cresswell. They're now going nose to tail. You can see there the gap between Meakin and Gertz, or should I say Siedler and Meakin, is vast at the moment. Gertz still holding on to the lead right now, but just look at Empson just coveting the rear end of that McLaren 720S as they fly through Lakon.
So Norbert Siedler was classed ahead of Maxi Gertz on the timing line. I don't know how close they actually were, and I know there's a dicky transponder in the 911, but if that is the case, Siedler will cop a penalty for that, because you cannot overtake until you pass the timing line.
Well, prepare now for a busy pit lane, because the change is now on, everybody. We've been given the green light on that, so we'll now await the drivers to make their way into the pits. Gertz still leads. I'd imagine he'll carry on, though, for now. No need to rush too much. Of course, Mansell, a very talented driver, very quick, but Gertz obviously so used to these dynamics in terms of the Spa 500 alone. Of course, a winner here last year with the Ventira Vest, but has also been part of many a great legendary race. Such a lengthy career, of course, under the banner of Mercedes now. Norbert Siedler, also a very vastly experienced driver in the realms of GT3, and a young upstart in Zach Meakin, and also you can factor in the likes of Tom Empson and Mackenzie Cresswell. They're going to look to try and stay on the rear, but it looks like Meakin actually dropping back from Siedler now. 1.1 seconds is now the gap as they make their way out of Sector 2.
So expect a flurry of cars in at the end of this lap, which is 4 minutes later than the original opening time for the pit lane, so it's not going to have too drastic an effect. More the fact that the safety car has bunched everyone up again is going to do that. And so, well, we'll see. We'll wait for confirmation on Seidler and see if he does, if anything does come of him being ahead at the timing line. I'll admit I wasn't looking at the screen when they actually did go over the line, so I can't tell you from my own perspective whether he did or not. But Seidler coming into the pits and is closely followed by one of the Greystone McLarens, the 33 of Zach Meakin. So Dean McDonald's getting aboard, and there's going to be a hive of activity in pit lane now. Yeah,
definitely. Of course, the bronze drivers will be stepping out. Of course, some of the pros also making some changes. Of course, Dean McDonald now making an appearance back again here at Spa-Francorchamps. Like you said, Chris, earlier, race that record holder here around this track. So big venue for him, and they'll be hoping for better luck as well this year, and they are in a very good fighting position.
And slick tyres, George.
Yeah.
They are going for the slicks.
Well, I think if you're going to do it, you've got to do it now, Chris.
But, okay, so Gertz is staying out there on the wet tyres.
Yeah.
Surely that's going to be a huge disadvantage for him.
Well, it could be. Obviously, he doesn't feel the need to come in just yet, so we'll wait and see. Whether he comes in and responds, though, is another question. 40.9. Personal best, though, for Gertz on this lap so far.
That was interesting because it looked like wet's going on. Or were they coming off the Audi, potentially? It's so
think they were
hard
coming
to
off.
see.
I think they were coming off because they took the groove tyre away and into the garage.
Yeah, that was the Olymp car.
Yeah.
So I assume it was the same.
Slicks.
Yes, Slicks going on the 25 as well. Okay, it looks like everybody's making the move to Slicks now. So you do have to wonder then that Motorpark, Elite, and the other Greystone McLaren, as well as SVC, they're all staying out there on the wet tyre. Is that going to come back to bite them?
Well, this is the question. They've got to respond, surely, to this move. Unless,
you would think.
Unless they want to survey the lap times for a lap or so. I'm not quite sure. I mean, they have got the whole window, 9 minutes and 30 to go until that window shuts. There goes the Optimum Motorsport.
Whoa.
And look at that from Armani, just getting very squirrely on his exit, though, managing to keep it together. Very keen to jump out of the box. Remember, Seidler came in P2. Of course, I think they've lost a considerable amount of time.
They've lost so much time. They're behind the Blackthorn Aston Martin, so that's a disaster for ZRS Motorsport.
Yeah, very poor run in the pits.
I do hope they didn't think that they had to serve the handicap in that pit stop.
Could have a point there, actually. I do have to tell you, folks, that they do, I believe, have one to serve.
They've got 10 seconds, haven't they?
Oh,
no, they don't. No,
they
sorry,
don't.
excuse me. Right, cancel that
So
theory.
it must have been an error then, or somewhat in the pit box. So an instant response now from Maxi Gertz, coming straight into the pits. Obviously,
well, he knows he's got no danger from the previously second-place car now.
They've probably gone to him and said, well, Seidler's made a mistake, or Armani, the driver change window period not working out for ZRS, so now's the time to come in. Emson following suit as well. Mackenzie Cresswell continuing around the track.
Right, that's an interesting call from Greystone. Still out there on the wet tyres as we see Tom Leben, the taller of the two Toms. 21 years old now. It was his birthday yesterday.
Yeah.
And
happy birthday.
Getting aboard the car now as Dominic Baumann taking over as well. Oh, no, sorry, that's the
Mansell and Gertz.
that is the Mansell car, isn't it?
In comes Jim Pla as well. He'll be replacing Michael Blanchimont, who did the initial stint. So Jim Pla with the seat at the ready, or the seat insert ready to go. And then we have Moncini taking over from Testa in the SVC Lamborghini. I bet they're absolutely thrilled to be back on the slick tyres now.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're going to have to go through quite a difficult warm-up phase, though.
Yeah.
As so Darren Kell handing over to the son, James. So Stanislav Jedlinski coming in as well. But yeah, because the pit lane is wet, the pit exit is wet as well, and then they have to go through the warm-up phase. This new H2 tyre does warm up a little bit quicker than the previous ones, but I mean, what was the track temperature this morning? About 10 degrees?
About 10 degrees,
So
yeah.
it's still going to be a tall order.
Absolutely. In comes Theodor Jensen for his first taste of GT3 racing. Of course, coming off the back of his win in the European Le Mans Series in LMP2. Slightly different machinery this time for young Theo Jensen, but his rise has been unbelievable. As you can see now, a Greystone McLaren tussling it out with a Porsche right now as they look to make the climb up through
McDonald's.
Yeah, the
so hang on,
33.
how has he ended up behind the Alexander Schwarzer?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's happened. Obviously, bizarre scenes there as we now watch as the cars venture around. There's the 777 Olymp Racing, of course. Carol Bash will be getting behind the wheel of that one, and elsewhere chasing down Pietro Armani at the moment, who had that late stop, obviously going off, getting out a little bit late out of the box. Remember, they were second on entry coming into the box, and it didn't necessarily work out like that. There's Christian Mansell, though. Dean McDonald is still tucked in behind in all of this.
Yeah, but look at Alexander Fark.
Yeah.
He's absolutely flying out there. It's still showing on the timing screen the previous drivers, so that needs to be updated. But look at Fark, he's absolutely flying out there. And so surely you have to assume this is for the net lead of the race. And Fark Autotech could end up leading overall here at one point.
Well, they could well do. And just look at this. It's an unbelievable position that they've put themselves in here. They've had a really strong run at the top of Pro-Am. As we now take a look, this is obviously Mackenzie Cresswell swapping out. And in will come Jaden Kelly to get behind the wheel of the McLaren 720S GT3. But the race now onwards, and we'll get a true idea as to where everyone sits. It's just so devastating to see what happened to ZRS in that instance. It was a huge opportunity for the small Porsche outfit, but they've got work to do.
When these guys come out, we'll get a clear indication of just how bad the situation for them is as the last few cars make their way into pit lane. So that's the Baron car.
Dosky coming in as well, I think.
Yep, the Baron car. So the Lewandowski's I think the father taking over there, Andre, from the son, Adrian. Here are the leaders. So Mansell's still holding the net lead by the looks of it, then Fark, and then McDonald as they make their way down the start and finish straight, and still having to weave to get that tyre temperature. But this is exactly the kind of situation the Porsche excels in.
Yeah.
Slightly damp track with slick tyres on. And, well, unfortunately not in the hands of Pietro Armani, because he's snaking about all over the place and is coming under pressure from the ISR Audi. So that'll be Philippe Salicada and Yannick Mettler throwing his nose to the inside there as well. And actually taking the place away from the Audi. So that's a change of position there.
Cracking move there from Yannick Mettler. You'd expect nothing more than a move like that from someone like him, so talented, and now on the tail of Pietro Armani. So we're talking two fast drivers here, but Mettler's so versatile, has been here before, taking all of the track there and more out of Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Wheel-to-wheel stuff as well further back, as now Dominic Baumann comes nose to tail, and side by side with the 27 Optimum Motorsport McLaren. That is, of course, the one that has made the change. Obviously, we saw Morgan Tilbrook in for the initial stint, and Ben Barnicott will now be jumping inside the car.
Yeah, so none of the driver names have changed on our timing screen, unfortunately, but you do have to change driver in the pit stop. There's going to be a bit of mental adjustment
arithmetic on our part
to try and go through. So hopefully when they get through the next timing split, it'll update there as well, as we're going to see the moment for Armani again. So he's got Carol Bash to his outside in the 777 Ferrari, and Armani really struggling since getting aboard the car. Now, this will be probably his first time driving in these conditions in the GT3.
It's a different beast altogether, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, you can understand the tracks as much as you like, but when you throw wet conditions, it's a whole different kettle of fish from the dry variety. As we still have a couple of minutes left in the change window, set to end in approximately 2.5 minutes.
I think everyone's come in though, George.
Yeah,
so
I think so. May as well slam it shut at this point.
The fastest car on the track at the moment is Tommaso Mosca in the 51. It's got a little bit of recovering to do, as Ollie Webb and Piotr Vera, the last two cars to come into pit lane. So that is Andre Borodin getting aboard. So Maxi Goetz retakes the lead of the race from Alexander Fark, and then D. McDonald. I said Goetz there, didn't I? It's Christian Mansell, sorry.
Yeah.
So some of them are starting to update now, but the Goetz one has not yet. So please bear with us for a moment. Right, we have it now. So it's apologies at home. So it's Mansell from McDonald, Leben in fourth, and Mosca's made up the most ground though. He's in fifth position now. So the 51's made a lot of progress. Little clang there between Jim Pla and Carol Bash going into the bus stop chicane, and they both run wide.
Yeah, so now that normal service has been resumed, Christian Mansell top of the shop with Alexander Fark, who is certainly coating himself in glory at the minute here. Second overall. Pro-Am P1, this is going rather well. Ben Barnacote is the next Pro-Am car, and it's down in P10, just behind Yifei Ye, who steps into the International GT Open for the first time. Great to have him here with us in this championship, fresh after his LMP2 success runs. As now we see the drivers make their way down through towards the Le Fanier chicane. There's the ISR Audi as well, looking to hunt down for some extra places. Philippe Salicada now at the wheel, being pressed as well by James Kell. Very well versed to SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS. He's going to flex that muscle once again, looking to take the long way around, coming through the Jackie X corner. Lovely move from James Kell.
Yeah, really nice stuff. It was nice seeing James get his elbows out in Portimao, wasn't it? He was right up there overall, and now sharing a car with his father. And so that was for 8th or 9th? Yes, 9th position, I want to say, in the Pro-Am category, because through already had gone Stuart White.
And Theodore Jensen as well.
Stuart White making his first appearance of the season in the Into Africa by Dragon Racing Ferrari. Pro duties being shared between himself and Axel Jeffries, who is still here this weekend on coaching duties. Yeah. But look how close, this is so much closer than I thought it was going to be at this point, George. And I'm sorry, but Mosca is going to be with them soon enough. He's a second and a half quicker than the leaders.
Fastest lap for Tommaso Mosca in that last time around prior, when in fact he's just registered another lap, but the one before was fastest. As now Johnny Adam confirmed top 10 now ahead of Carol Bash as Borodin drops down the tree, obviously after his pit stop, taking over from Ollie Webb, as we now watch as Mosca, who is setting the timing screens alight, now hunting down a fellow Ferrari. This time it's Tom Leben's elite blazing yellow car, just trying to climb the mountain now as they look to coax to the back of Dean McDonald, the Flying Scotsman, all over the back of Alexander Fack.
Dominic Bauman's brought the 28 into the pit lane, yeah. George. Now, I did see that car running off the racing line earlier, and I wasn't quite sure why that would be the case. I can only assume there is a problem on that motor park car, because Bauman has had to bring it into the pits. That's a real shame for them, because Ramirez had a very strong first stint there.
Dean McDonald on a charge right now. Chris Purple inside the first sector on this particular lap. So he is now starting to also, much like Mosca, set the timing screens on fire. Just look at that. He's on the back of Alexander Fack. Mosca very close to the back of Leben. Now it didn't take him too long to cozy up to the rear of that elite. Oh, going wide there, Leben. That's left the door wide open, and Mosca needs no invitation whatsoever. And through he goes, and up into fourth.
Yep, timely move there from Mosca, so the gap is 3 seconds to Dean McDonald, and he'll be hoping that Alexander Fack will keep McDonald at bay for the time being, so that he can set about closing that gap.
And still Fack is within a second on Christian Mansell, you know, which is
he is.
Stellar stuff.
1.6 seconds covers the top three, which is Mercedes, Porsche, McLaren, and Ferrari in fourth position as well. We're going to see the moment again for Tom Lebon. Just the slightest little twitch in the middle of Pouhon there. Only need to be a fraction off the racing line. Remember, they're on slick tyres, and it's not dry off the racing line. So a little mistake there for Tom Leben, but he lives to fight another day.
Spa, one of those unique circuits in the sense where it could be dry one portion of the track, could be wet in the other. So,
very much so.
You know, it's a challenge to work out which is the best compound. It really is a test of mental strength, not just for the drivers, but also for the engineers and garage folk alike, you know, to make the right decision. So we credit them all the time. Mosca still with the fastest lap of the race so far. Dean McDonald, though, registering a personal best for their entry, currently sat in P3 and still remains on the back of Alexander Fack. But Fack still pursuing after Christian Mansell at the moment, and the Aussie Diamond still facing a high dose of pressure here from the Porsche leading the Pro-Am charge. And this is obviously music for them, because, of course, Ben Barnacote's all the way down in P8. They're more concerned about him in the sense that they want to win the Pro-Am race, but it wouldn't hurt at least to grace the top flight with a little bit of your presence as well at the same time.
It's pretty handy, because he has 16 seconds or so over the next car in Pro-Am. And the good thing about that as well is that because it's the Ben Barnicott car, isn't it? And the 27, which is going to take handicap because it's a guest entry, which the number 11 does not have to do.
No, quite right. And at the same time, we got 3 cars matching in the speed trap as well at the same time. Let's take a look at this then. A bit of side-by-side action with Jaden Kelly and Leonardo Moncini, who was, of course, the driver that really qualified strongly in yesterday's Quali 2 for SVC, hence why they managed to achieve a fantastic front row start for the race. Just unfortunate that they lost the places anyway. But great move there from Moncini.
I think Jaden Kelly's gone back through.
He might have done.
Though, because they've gone through the first timing split since then. It's still saying Kelly is ahead.
Unless we have further late transponder moments, not quite sure.
Potentially, but yeah, of course, he would have been close on the run up through Eau Rouge and down Kemmel. So potentially Jaden Kelly being able to retake that position. We're right on board with Dean McDonald. A little aircon adjustment.
I was going to say,
I don't know what that dial on the right-hand side is. Actually, so many buttons in these cars these
some
days.
music volume, Chris.
tuning into Jazz FM.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully he's not got us inside the car. That'd be awful. Oh no! Well, he's gone wide into the bus stop chicane there. Thought he was going to hit the runoff area. Just a little bit wide.
Clearly a song that Dean McDonald didn't like.
Well, hopefully it wasn't a brake bias adjustment because he's going to have to turn it back again.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he still remains within a healthy gap of Alexander Fack, so it's not all doom and gloom for the Flying Scotsman, Dean McDonald. Yes. So now take a look inside the garage.
The gap to McDonald and Mosca, though, has actually gone out somewhat. It's now 4 seconds.
Update on Jaden Kelly as well, Chris. Barnicoat's got past him as well, so that's new. Kelly now down in 8th place.
Oh, this is an opportunity for the lead here, George, because they've been caught up behind the traffic. Fack to the outside.
Yeah, looking to the outside on the run up through towards Lake Com. In comes the Porsche for Fack Auto Tech. This has been a sterling run so far from Alexander Fack, looking to surpass even the Pro-Am side of things and trying to achieve something here in the overalls here so far, but Mansell managing to keep him at bay.
What a moment it would be for this brand new team in GT Open. Only their second race weekend with us, joining us from GT Masters, to be leading in AM, leading in Pro-Am, and leading overall as well.
Absolutely. Well, Mansell getting past Andre Borodin, but like so does Alexander Fack. So obviously that doesn't, it's caused problems for Dean McDonald a little bit here because he's unfortunately come into it at the wrong time and therefore he's forfeiting yet more delta. It's now surpassed 2 seconds. Remember, it was 1.3 after the little moment at the bus stop chicane. Well, that's now been exacerbated somewhat. Of course, previously 1.3, it looks like it's actually dropped out wider, but Mosca is starting to close. We've got ISR, though, in the garage.
I wonder if they stayed on the wet tyres and they needed to come in for... I was wondering why Philippe Salicada would have come into pit lane. It looks like they made the wrong call on the tyres during their pit stop window.
Wouldn't it be a terrible thing if it started raining again? I mean, that would be tragic, wouldn't it? But yeah,
there's water on the lens there.
Well, this is true. We might have tempted fate. But yeah, the groove tyres have come off the Audi now, but obviously they're going to forfeit a fair whack of time off the back of this, as now Mansell makes his way down through towards the bus stop. The glowing green lights on the front of that mean-looking Mercedes-AMG GT3 making its way through the bus stop chicane, now being pursued by Alexander Fack, your Pro-Am leader at the moment, ahead of Dean McDonald, who still remains 1.3. He's managed to cozy his way back in by the looks of it. We'll soon get a better view as to the time. In fact, it's gone out to 1.8 now, as we now see personal bests being rumbled in by, well, it was Tom Levin on the previous lap. We'll see whether he's actually closing the gap, because Mosca, having overtaken him, the gap between those two now stands at 1.4 seconds. So no improvements for any driver inside the top 6 over that last lap. Tell a lie, Leonardo Moncini did with a 2:21.219. Mansell coming over the crest, though, out of Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Fact, half a second, that still remains. More back marker runners, though, they are approaching them. So yet further complications potentially for Christian Mansell to manage as they now head up through towards Lake Com. And the movement of wipers there, Chris. Potential further rainfall, perhaps?
We'll see. We'll see. That would be their luck, wouldn't it? Especially 18 minutes until they can come back into the pits for the change. And it would be worth just sticking out on the slicks until you can come into the pits. What a fascinating race this has been. It's been no short of drama, isn't it? And we're seeing a coming-of-age moment here for Alexander Fack, who's keeping up with the race leader, Christian Mansell, the 23-year-old Swiss driver, a race winner in Porsche Super Cup and in GT Masters with his bronze driver, Alexander Schwarzer as well, the Sattel-based family squad that is running extremely well at the moment. It could be another opportunity here as they're trying to get around the AF Motorsport Porsche. As Mansell looks to the inside on Stavolo, but it means he's got to go out onto the wet stuff. Does he run a little bit wide? Further back, it is Jaden Kelly under pressure from Yifei, who goes right round the outside of the Fanier chicane, and that is for 8th position. Lovely move from the Le Mans winner.
Brilliant stuff from Yifei. Welcome back to the GT Sport organisation. Sansalot Racing's Jim Pla also trying to barrel his way through, and certainly does so.
Goodness me.
Very well done by the Sansalot Racing team. Of course, they're just trying to clear the deficits in between at the moment. So we've got 8-second time penalty to be added to the race time of car 1:08 for not serving the full amount, and that's the Theodor Jensen car, the Vimana by Get Speed. Of course, it was Amir Naran who did the opening stint.
Iron Links.
Iron Links, sorry.
You're still in 2025 there, George.
Yeah, I absolutely am. Wheel to wheel, though, further back, or further up, I should say. This is Ben Barnicoat trying to get past Moncini in the SVC Lamborghini, and this is a battle over P6, Chris.
Yeah, Barnicoat sticking it to the Pro Lamborghini. You would expect him to do that. He is a Lexus factory driver in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. And will be making an appearance at Le Mans later this year as well. It is definitely starting to rain out there, George. There's more camera on the lenses, the lights are getting brighter on the screen, and the wipers are in action. And so they're dealing with an ever-changing racetrack here. And they've got to be so careful every time they get onto the left foot for braking, and every time they try and accelerate as well. This could really throw a hammer in the works.
I think Magjarsh has gone into the pits as well, Chris. So I'm wondering if they put on the wet record as it stands. They'll be hoping to maintain that.
Yeah, so does the Motorpark.
Yeah, absolutely. The Aston Martin, though, under pressure as Carol Bash just swans on through against Johnny Adam. So that's P10 now for the pole, as we now rejoin our battle up at the front.
And third in Pro-Am, but again, George, still showing Johnny Adam in third position in that category, and they have gone through the first timing split. So again, I wonder if Johnny Adam retook that
did
place
a Jaden Kelly
on Carol Bash.
Well, of course, Jaden Kelly
catch up with it later.
Jaden Kelly did get swallowed up afterwards as well by the likes of Ben Barnicoat, and then later Yifei as well. So yeah, we'll wait and see as to whether that updates.
That's a great battle. You got Johnny Adam, Carol Bash, Jim Pla, Yannick Mettler, all fighting for third in Pro-Am at the moment. They're separated by nothing. And that's an Aston Martin, a Ferrari, an Audi, and a Mercedes in that fight.
And if you're Pietro Armani, you're going to hope that they're going to be battling soon so he can close up and join the party.
Yeah, he's still not making many inroads, is he? Down in 14th position overall. I'd love to hear the explanation from ZRS Kirsta. What on earth happened during that pit stop, and then what happened when Armani rejoined the track? We saw him absolutely light up the Michelin.
Absolutely.
Nearly spun in pit lane.
Well, do you think that perhaps there was that element maybe of considering the, serving the time, but then all of a sudden realising, no, you go out of the pits, and he just slammed on the throttle or something to leave.
I mean, there'll be cold tyres as well, even though they will be in the blankets. We've got yellow flags out at turn 8, which is at Rivage. They are very quickly rescinded, though, so maybe just a little off-track excursion for one of the pack markers. And we're about to head to that bit of the racetrack. We're coming through Malmedy, which is the nearby city that the old circuit used to run through back in the day, 60 years ago. Now we had the 14-kilometre layout of this track, and now through Rivage, which is one of the nearby hamlets, or Bruxelles, that is sometimes referred to as, which of course is the Belgian capital.
Now, of course, through Jackie Expen before heading downwards towards the majestic Pouon section. Fabian Di Bianca having a good time out there. Purple first sector over his last lap. Personal best of a 2:20.2. So starting to go to work in the BMW M4 to try and recoup some of the places that were lost. That
car's been very quick in a straight line all weekend, George. One of the strengths of the BMW. It loses out in the slower speed corners, but in a straight line there is very little that is able to beat the 3-litre twin-turbo straight six.
Yeah, brilliant. Obviously the Camel Straights will be its forte.
Be good for Monza.
Absolutely.
Might struggle at Misano.
Maybe. Yeah, it gets rather technical, especially around the middle sector of that portion. You can argue the third sector as well. You have a heavy braking zone, though, after a fair straight, which could prove to be useful for the Beamer.
That's our next race weekend, isn't it? Our first visit to Misano in, was it 3 weeks' time? 6th and 7th of June?
Yeah, won't be long.
Yeah, so keep your eyes out for that one.
2 Italian races on the calendar this year. Of course, Monza will be returning with a 500 race of its own.
Darn it. We have to go to Italy again. What a shame.
They're fantastic hosts, they
it's
really
a hard
are.
life, isn't it, George?
Yeah, they're fantastic hosts, and the weather's always beautiful. We do love going to Italy, it has to be said. But nonetheless, here at Spa, despite the rain falling, really does build the characteristics of this beloved track here at Spa-Francorchamps. We're watching Dean McDonald fly up through Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Currently 0.7 of a second away. He is really close up. There's Zach Meakin watching on pensively inside the Greystone garage. Mansell, though, still taking them on. Look at Mosca closing up in the back as well.
I mean, we're enjoying it, George, because we're in a nice, dry, heated commentary box.
This is true.
I'm sure it's not so great for the people in the pits, but yeah, Mosca was 0.9 of a second quicker than Dean McDonald and the race leader on the previous lap. So the gap now under 3 seconds between the 3rd and 4th place cars.
0.7 quicker than Alexander Fack as well at the same time. So gaining, obviously you would expect him to be faster than Fack, because obviously Fack being held up by Mansell anyway. But Mosca behind the wheel of the 296, trying to join the fight. Remember, they started on the front row, obviously coupled together with Christian Mansell, or up at the front end anyway, looking to try and close this gap. Should I say they started inside the top 10, it wasn't the front row, but it was certainly a strong qualifying performance from Mosca. I'm thinking about his own individual session where he finished second in behind Mansell at the time. Remember his averages here at this point, George.
Ninth on the grid for the 51.
Absolutely, with Rafael Duran stepping in for the first stint. But yeah, no, obviously they've got an immense amount of pace, and Mosca achieving that Ferrari factory drive after a dazzling season last year, where he really did rise to the fore, and spoke to me actually coming into the weekend about that phone call, getting the news that he was going to become this Ferrari factory driver, and the raw emotion, he was crying, the fact that he gets to represent this historic brand, this Italian brand that's so strong and synonymous with motorsport. And it really, a big moment in Mosca's career.
It's hugely well deserved. He was absolutely superb in the GT Open last year, and of course serving in Italian GT before that as well, winning several championships, and very nearly won the championship with us in his first year as well, alongside Carl Bennett. Yeah. So yeah, Mosca's been a great talent, and seeing him now taking part in Daytona 24 Hours and all these big other GT3 events now as a Ferrari factory driver, it's just really great to see. And we're seeing so much of that talent come through. I mean, we think back to when Oregon won their first championship. Leonardo Polcini got given Lamborghini factory status as a result of that. And we are seeing so many of the young silver class drivers. I mean, we're talking about Christian Mansell, for example. His intention is very clear: get a Mercedes contract,
factory contract,
and he's in the right hands to do it, because he's racing alongside Maxi Goetz, who's been with Mercedes for donkey's years.
And we've got to give credit to Motorpark in what they do with young drivers as well, because it all starts in the Euro Formula. You've got the likes of, I mean, we saw it with Revesz last season, of course, had some time with Motorpark during the course of a Euro Formula campaign. The intention then, in his mind, was to give GT3 a go. Didn't he just do that? Winning the title 12 months ago. Well, not 12 months ago necessarily, won it, of course, at the end of last season in October, but still, at the same time, you know what I mean. But he, of course, won this race alongside Goetz last year, and now they're on the cusp of potentially doing the same again. Can't necessarily see that yet, because we're not even necessarily halfway through as such. But at the moment, under Christian Mansell, from what we've seen already from Portimao, the back-to-back second places, qualifying on pole position for this particular race, leading the race right now, and maintaining under pressure against the likes of Alexander Fack and Dean McDonald. Who knows where this young man can go?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same for so many of them. I mean, you would talk about Pietro Armani as well, because he's being coached by Alex Fontana, and he's got great potential there. There's just so many. And we're seeing a lot of the really great bronze drivers coming through this championship as well, as we're getting a really good look here at how much of rainfall is actually coming down. You can see it on the windscreen, but they are out there on slick tyres. Thankfully, the majority of the field is now the pro runners, so they'll have a bit more experience that they can lean back on and a bit more ability to keep the cars on the racetrack.
Yeah, to probably quell some of the concerns probably around whether we do have a really strong drying line forming on the home straight here anyway. Obviously, I can't speak for the whole of the circuit, but obviously if the rain does get harder, Chris, then we could be seeing perhaps conversations, maybe considerations of moving back onto the wet tyres for the second half of the race. Who knows?
It's going to be such a tough call because it's less than 5 minutes until the driver change window opens. You'd imagine most of these guys are going to extend it quite a bit, particularly the Pro-Am cars, because there's lots of pro drivers out there at the moment. So they'll extend, so they'll have a bit more time to think about it. Because if there's a sudden downpour, then it becomes obvious. But if it stays like this, I think you've got to stick with the slicks. We've had a change for 7th position, meanwhile, which is Ife getting around Ben Barnicoat. Imagine Lexus and Ferrari having a bust up about which of their drivers is going to be better in that fight. Ben Barnicoat is given leave to come and do races like this where there is no Lexus presence. They don't have a big one in Europe in general. It's pretty much just the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship and the World Endurance Championship where they compete these days.
And he's maintained a strong relationship with McLaren as well as Ben Barnicoat. Well, with McLaren teams anyway, racing
certainly with Optimum,
in championships.
He does the Golf 12 Hour like every year as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does quite a few things. In fact, he's got quite the CV. I mean, ALMS GT champion back in 2022, winner of the Golf 12 Hour as well back in 2020. I believe back in 2022 also, taking part in the sports car, IMSA Sports Car GTD Pro. He became champion of that, the Mont 24 Hour LMP2 winner as well in 2024.
And he's back in an LMP2 car this year at Le Mans, if memory serves me correctly. We've had the change for 3rd position, haven't we, in Pro-Am. I can't remember if we talked about this earlier or if there was a delay in the timing screen, but it is Carol Bash for Olymp Racing up in 3rd position at the moment. They went without a podium in Portimao, which is not what we're used to seeing from previous champions of that category back in 2022. The winless campaign for them last year, which we're really not used to seeing at all. But Karel Bash and Martin Jedlinski hopefully returning to form.
Fabian Dibianca continuing his love affair with the first sector, purple in the first this time around as well. Theodor Jensen lapping in the 219s too. There were some concerns. He felt that he might be a second or so off the pace of the pro drivers from his... that was his thinking, but he seems to have blossomed into this race now. Maybe the rain applying that equaliser just to help him as well, but a 2:19.889 is certainly nothing to be sniffed at, and he's currently trying to hunt down James Kell. As now we see a move here from Carol Bash up the inside of Jaden Kelly at turn 1, coming out of the source, and Bash moves through.
Saw Jaden Kelly having to turn out of the corner there. Like, oh, there's a Ferrari alongside me. Good awareness in the end from Jaden Kelly, who's only in his, 3rd year of car racing. This kid has had such a rise through car racing. Yeah, first season of racing in McLaren Trophy in 2024. And already McLaren GT3 Junior alongside the likes of Mackenzie Cresswell and Zach Meakin. He's coming back at Johnny Adam, though. There was a little bit of a brush there as Adam trying to get around Jaden Kelly and follow his class rival.
Here comes Jim
and
Pla.
Here comes Jim Pla. That's opened up the door for him to try and sneak through on the Aston Martin. Is there an Audi's width on the inside? No, but there is an Aston Martin's width on the outside of the McLaren, all the way around the outside of Rivage. We saw this move earlier in the race. It was the McLaren doing it earlier, and now it's Johnny Adam doing it on Jaden Kelly into Speaker's Corner. Great stuff.
Brilliant effort from Johnny Adam, cultivating the move. In comes Yannick Mettler now on Jim Pla on the run down through towards Pouon, wheel-to-wheel between Mercedes and between the Santalog Audi, I should say, the R8 LMS, and Mettler manages to make it through as well. Brilliant move from Yannick Mettler, now on the cusp of Jaden Kelly himself. By my estimation, I believe that's P11.
5th in class as well.
Yeah.
So, Jaden Kelly, that pro car between himself and his class rival, Carol Bash.
P12, I should say.
Yeah. So, through Stavolo. And Johnny Adam will set about Carol Bash now as well. So, go up the gears towards Blanchimont. Still the rain coming down. I would not, just listen in. That was a lot of commitment through Blanchimont. I would hate to be having to go through there in these kind of conditions. So fair play to these drivers. They just show so much skill and bravery as the second driver change window is now open and will be for the next 14 minutes, but pit lane remains quiet for now.
Yeah, absolutely right. Jim Pla, no slouch on his best day, mind you. Despite forfeiting that place, the Frenchman has achieved great things in GT World Challenge Endurance, of course in Gold Class, and GT4 European in 2021, finishing second in that. Porsche Carrera Cup France, finishing third in 2013. Has had a lengthy history, competed against some of the notorious Formula One drivers from the modern era back in his junior single-seater career. And now, of course, in GT3 racing, helping Santalok try and boost their performance here in the International GT Open. Alongside Michael Blanchimont, Yannick Mettler now on the tail of Jaden Kelly, looking for a P11 visit if possible. Of course, making his way through downhill now out of Malmedy. We've got some movement to the pit. That's the Iron Lynx crew.
Just limbering up.
Yeah, perhaps getting ready to welcome Theodore Jensen later on.
Yeah, hand back over to Amir Naran. It's nice to have him back with us in the championship, prepping for the European Le Mans Series race that they're having here in August, I believe it is, as he's moved up to that championship for 2026. We'll see Ollie Webb getting back aboard the 24, taking over from Andre Borodin.
Second change of this race.
There's a multiple Le Mans participant there as well in LMP2.
Yeah, he's been there and done it, hasn't he, Ollie Webb?
Yeah, quite very much so. And I think that still does a fair bit of McLaren Trophy as well for his a lot of his bronze customers, a lot of his little proteges as well. Race leader in, Mansell coming in to hand back over to Maxi Goetz. Now, I'll be interested to see what tyres they go for here, George.
Yeah. Do they plumb for a wet tyre? Do you think that they believe the rain clouds are on their way?
I'm not sure. But what is important here, let's just celebrate.
It doesn't look great up there.
Let's just celebrate FAC Autotech for a second, because they are leading in AM, leading in Pro-Am, and leading overall now. What an incredible achievement for them.
They look like slicks.
And those are slick tyres going on the 71.
Yeah. What a drive so far from Alexander
Look at the
Fack.
steam coming off of those hot tyres. That's extraordinary.
Well, Mansell's been putting them through their paces, hasn't he? And next will be Maxi Goetz's turn as in comes Jaden Kelly after his stint. So we'll welcome Mackenzie Cresswell back onto the track for the Greystone GT outfit. Yet another representation for the McLaren manufacturer, featuring here at the SPA-500 in the International GT Open of 2026. Ben Barnicoat for Optimum, currently sat in P7 as well. There's quite a lofty amount of McLarens actually inside this top 10 at the moment, with Dean McDonald still sat in second at the moment, obviously due to the pit stop brought in by Christian Mansell.
Yeah, we've got 5 of them on the racetrack, and I think 4 of them have been running inside the top 10, haven't they? So,
well, track focused, obviously, 14th at the moment for James Kell.
3 of them, sorry, yeah. But they're all very, very competitive cars.
Yeah.
And it's one of the older cars now. It's the 3rd or 4th year since they brought that Evo update to the 720S, and the platform itself has been in since 2019, but it's got nothing on this car though.
Always find the McLaren's a fantastic all-rounder, I think, for any driver. I know that I remember speaking to Nick Moss and Joe Osborne, and Nick loves driving the car, and his preparation, I remember him always telling me he used to go out in a pro kart every week, and that was his way of limbering up ahead of International GT Open rounds.
A lot of drivers, particularly amateur drivers, like to do that.
Yeah, so it was fantastic. Nick Moss, of course, was always a fantastic character to have in the paddock. Actually, was obviously an AM driver, but competed at the pro class level. Listened to Joe Osborne's advice and said, come on, let's go for the pro championship and take on Oregon Team Lamborghini. And they took it all the way to the final round back in 2022. So credit to them for that. Maybe we'll see him back in the future.
Joe was actually with Ollie Webb in Miami for the McLaren Trophy race there. It was on the Grand Prix support a few weeks ago.
That's true. Yes, that's right. Miami, wasn't it? Yes, of course. Yeah, brilliant. Alexander Fack, though, race leader here for FAC Autotech, with Dean McDonald still hunting him down at the moment. The driver change window still alive and kicking. 9 minutes and 17 to go for said window. I'd imagine that Fak will probably take this stint all the way. Why not? It's been a marvellous one for him. And McDonald, of course, is going to try and do, I think, the lion's share here as well, with Zach Meekin waiting in the wings to take over. Mosca still there in the distance, 3.5 seconds back, with Leben also representing Ferrari for Elite, 8.2 behind Mosca at the moment, with Moncini as well down in 5th place.
Team McDonald's, he spent most of the Portimao weekend looking at the back of a Mercedes, and he spent this entire stint looking at the back of the Porsche now as well. Poor Dean, he just wants clean air for once. In comes the AM class leader, Jean Monegro, getting back aboard the number 12 from FARC Auto Tech, as Theodor Jensen takes over the Iron Lynx run at 108 machine.
Looks like someone has put dry ice on those tyres, honestly. Yeah. It's incredible to see. Just the steam. I know you mentioned it with Mansell earlier on coming into the box. But
I really hope at least one videographer has been able to get like some slow-mo
yeah.
shots of those from inside the pit lane. I want to see those on social media later.
Yeah, just seeing the steam rise off the top. Obviously, the wet weather, a combination with the burning rubber, creating that mist, that haze, that smoke just coming off, the steam rising off the compound.
Over on the racetrack, is it?
Well, well, you never know. You never know. That was very punny of you, Chris. Well done.
Thanks.
We're watching.
Not proud of it at all.
It's usually something I would come up with. Alexander Fak now coming through Blanchimont with Dean McDonald now still hovering all over his tail. Still a contest for the on-track race lead at the moment. Of course, remember though, Gertz will have rejoined, and all these runners you'd fathom in front of him naturally have to come in. So Gertz now out on the track in 19th place behind Dominic Baumann. So that's a fast car that he's up against, 18.2 behind. So we'll wait and see how that transpires when everyone else comes into the pits.
So there's an interesting dynamic here, George, because Gertz, depending on where he's come out,
he's got clean air, Chris.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, he's got 18 seconds of clean air in front of it. As in comes Tom Leben to hand back over to Tom Empson. That was the 6th place car before the driver change window opened. So Gertz is in clean air. He's on fresh tyres as well. Meanwhile, Dean McDonald is still looking at the back of the Alexander Fark Porsche on older tyres. So I would say it's Advantage Motor Park at the moment. But actually, looking at the sector times, Gertz 0.7 of a second slower through the first sector on this lap. So
maybe they're not warmed up yet.
Maybe, yeah. Well, that's always the trade-off, isn't it? As, we have another pit stop here. Norbert Siedler getting back aboard the ZRS at Porsche after a very difficult stint there for Pietro Armani in, what was it, 13th position. It
was after the tricky release, wasn't it, really?
Very tricky release, very tricky exit, very tricky everything else after that, yeah.
It's all tricky. It's tricky, if you've ever heard that song before. But yeah, we watch them now make their way through the middle sector. This is Alexander Fak. From one Porsche to another, it may not be Armani, but Alexander Fak delivering a clinic in Pro-Am at the moment and is fairly well clear of Ben Barnicot at the moment, still seconds away, and you get the feeling that FAC Auto Tech just need to manage this race right now, and if they can get the next sequential pit stops right, this could be a huge day for them.
Well, yeah, now it's down to Alexander Schwarzer, who was running really well in the first part of the race. What put the car in this position in the first place.
And so Alexander Fak has carried that mentality on.
Yeah, he really has. What's the gap? So he's got 20 seconds over the next Pro-Am car at the moment. Yep. If there's a safety car, then we can throw all this out the window. But do remember that 27 car that's second in class does have a handicap to serve as well. And so it's even better for Alexander Fak as, in comes Dean McDonald. So 5 minutes left on the driver change window, probably just trying to get some clean air for Zach Meekin to come out in. And I don't know, has there been enough of a pace difference? Because on that previous lap, he was lapping quicker than Gertz. Has there been enough there, I wonder, for Zach Meekin just to jump in front of Maxi Gertz, who seems to be struggling in this warm-up phase because he's actually losing time to Dominic Baumann, which is the next car in front of him.
Yeah, well, we'll soon see. We'll see how the disparity works. We did see Christian Kozlowski and Yifei has come in as well. I'm wondering if they're doing that for Stanislav's benefit.
Potentially.
For Christian Kozlowski's car. This is Carol Bash. wheel to wheel. Oh, Yifei trying to get into the pits, I believe, because he is in the box. So Argy Bargy's with Carol Bash. And
that's not going to go down well in race control.
No, not at all. Two Ferraris colliding together. Obviously, never nice to see that on entry to the pits. Maybe a little bit of debris hanging around as well on entry to the pit lane. But there is Maxi Goertz now making his way down through towards the bus stop chicane. So we'll see now, as he crosses the timing line, how this corresponds against Zach Meakin now. We're looking to rein in their second stop here. So Goertz taking over from Mansell. He's surpassed Emson anyway, at least as far as we know. There's the 25 car of Kalila Letlarka in the pits. And they're going to make the necessary driver change after he started the race. There is Meakin. So he's just come out in behind. There's a fair gap though, Chris. It is Goertz leading the way.
Yeah, it's bigger than it was before, isn't it? And now Zach's got to try and get those tyres up to temperature, isn't he? So, well done to Motorpark. The undercut did work. Oh, barrel loads of understeer as he was going up there. Look how hard it's raining up there,
I was going to say, the rain is coming down, and Goertz has got the wipers on. So you never know. I mean, we could see a desperate lunge into the pits for the wets as well. I mean, this would be great news for those that may not have yet done their driver change yet.
Yeah, it's true. But they've only got probably one more lap to do it in, actually.
Well, I'm looking at ISR at the moment because they've got Philippe Salicada behind the wheel. They could put Libor Malotta back out on wet tyres potentially.
Yeah, same for that, Mosca.
Yeah, Mosca as well, yes, of course.
Rodrigo Testa's
now might be the time, actually.
63, yeah. Oh. Well, yeah, but you don't know what it's going to do you?
It might stop again.
It could stop immediately. So, oh my goodness, what a difficult decision. So in comes the race leader, in comes Mosca as well.
What tyres are they using? Slicks?
Slicks. It is Slicks for now. I think you just have to go with what it's doing now, don't you?
Oh no!
That's the Zach Meakin car.
Yes.
The second place car in the barriers.
Oh my goodness me, what on earth happened to Zach Meakin? Fresh out on the track. Bear in mind, he did have cold tyres. He was trying to chase down after, we believe, our race leader, soon to be our race leader officially on the timing screen. Maxi Goertz, what on earth happened to the McLaren? I mean, you can imagine what likely may have happened, obviously due to the conditions. The rain is continuing to fall.
But that's the championship leading car, don't forget.
Yeah. And the slick's out as well. And there's another car around. That's the 96 of Yaroslav Veselaho, who's just swapped in place of Yifei.
So there's some gravel on the exit of Speaker's Corner there, George. I wonder if that's contributed because their grip already seems to be a bit of a premium out there at the moment.
Yeah, Yaroslav Veselaho, of course, stepping into GT3s this year. Great to have him with us, of course, but that's not the way you'd want your Spa race to certainly check in. Obviously, Zach Meakin feeling comfortable enough to carry on, but you can just see how that debris is sticking out there.
You've got no choice. No choice.
Yeah.
Now, if that bit of debris flies out the side of the car, then there could be problems. They may even give that a black and orange flag if they don't like the look of that front right corner on the McLaren. I'm certainly not liking the look of it, but that's because it's a heavily damaged car, and this is going to be where the gravel came from. So loses it in the middle of Speaker's Corner, pings off the tyre barriers. Goodness me. And so there's probably just a little bit of water on that curb still, getting those tyres up to temperature, and plows into the side of the tyre wall.
A nasty black eye for the Greystone GT McLaren 720S, right on the right-hand side as we're looking at it from inside Zach Meakin's cockpit.
Well, that's a huge moment for the championship leading car.
Just saw
one of the contenders. Vitalo making a very similar mistake.
Yeah, we just saw on the screen as well, incidentally, the heat you could see on the radar, because that's the beauty of the McLaren 720S. It gives you an indication of the temperature levels on the tyres. The rear left was amber orange, obviously stepping into that, obviously due to the nature of the spin, perhaps something before that. Maybe he lost grip due to that as well, and then couple that with the water that's obviously coating the curbs as well, sideways into the barrier. Nasty stuff.
Oh, that's a leading contender gone, and that's made life significantly easier for Motorpark, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Played into the hands of the Oschersleben outfit. Now we watch as the Blau Motorsport car makes its way back out. There is your race leader. Well, you believe you're a race leader, of course. We've yet to factor in the stops that have come in elsewhere. Maxi Goertz looking to push now and make his way through the rafts of cars in front that, of course, separate him from the front end of the rostrum. So head down in towards the bus stop.
It'll actually be Dominic Baumann, I think, leading. Actually, I'm very much losing track of where the 28 is because that car came into the pits very much out of sequence, didn't it?
Ramirez is in the car, apparently, in P10 at the moment.
Yes. So I think there was an erroneous name on there earlier, but it's now been confirmed. Yeah, Goetze is the leader, so never mind on that front.
There's Schwarzer.
So Schwarzer still in second place for the number 11, which is very, very impressive. But now you're going to assume that Zach Meekin's going to come under pressure from Rafael Duran, potentially. He's 3 seconds behind the McLaren, which is limping somewhat. Tom Empson still holding 5th position ahead of Rodrigo Testa. Morgan Tilbrook, it is now aboard the 2nd placed number 27 Optimum Motorsport car, and Charles Bateman in 3rd position in that category, 1.5 seconds behind in the 97 from Blackthorn. And it is now Blau Motorsport that leads the of course, a run number 16 car of Marcello Hahn that leads in the AM category. And now has that actually done its last stop? That hasn't actually updated on the timing yet, so I'll hold my breath for that one, because it was the number 12 of Jean Monegro that was leading before the pit stop.
It's obviously for Greystone GT McLaren right now, Zach Meekin, obviously with the way that bodywork has, obviously come undone, it's going to cause perhaps some issues on it from an aero standpoint as well. So when you try and tackle the Eau Rouge and Radion section, for example, it's going to be difficult, Chris, to keep balance in some ways.
I think that the rest of this race is just going to be a bit nightmarish for Zach Meekin and Dean McDonald now.
Yeah.
Just very quick, it is still Jean Monegro and the number 12 that leads in the AMP category. Marcello Hahn in 2nd position, as that's Rodrigo Testa trying to put a lap on the Mikkel Pedersen team Porsche. Their Florence driver aboard at the moment, Lars Engelbrecht Pedersen.
Well, for Testa, obviously just trying to amass at least somewhat of a gap. I'm guessing that, because I'm just looking on my timing screen here at the moment, that must have been, is that Duran that's in the 51 there? Yes, it is. Obviously, I'd imagine then, he's managed to overtake Duran by the looks of it, Testa, so he's on the move.
Duran Tom Empson.
Yeah, so Duran was in P4 not long ago, and I don't know what's happened to Tom Empson, but he is not in view. Oh, there he is. So he hasn't actually overtaken Empson.
But he's overtaken Duran.
But he's overtaken Duran. So Duran has lost out to Empson and Rodrigo Testa. So there must have been an issue somewhere, as now we see the Elite Motorsport Ferrari closing up on the back of Zach Meekin now for 3rd place.
And Empson's just done that car's best lap of the race. He's now within roughly 3/4 of a second of the podium now. And
Look at the difference.
Rodrigo Testa now 5th, Rafael Duran down to 6th. He's got a hell of a run here.
I'll tell you what, wheel to wheel, and this should be smoothly does it for Tom Empson with a damaged McLaren 720S, unable to provide any resistance against the Ferrari 296, and that is a podium in theory so far for Tom Empson. Should they carry it all the way?
Well, you would think it's going to turn into 2nd place, because you would assume
with Schwarzer,
the pro cars will move past Schwarzer at some point in this race.
But you never know, based on what we've seen.
Well, no, as you don't. It's been a pretty bonkers race today, isn't it, really?
Yeah, certainly from what we saw from Alexander Fack's stint as well.
Still got 75 minutes left on the clock. We're on lap 37. So we've actually just gone past the sort of half-race distance mark, really, isn't it? It's 72 laps we're looking for.
Yeah. I do wonder whether Christian Mansell was rubbing his eyes when he saw the Porsche in behind, saying, where does this come from, this Pro-Am car that's hunting me down? But Gertz having no issues at the moment. 15.1 seconds ahead of Alexander Schwarzer. Motor Park of masterclass this so far. Of course, are used to this race after securing it 12 months ago. I mean, for Gertz to go back-to-back and take Spa 500 victories, I mean, that would be absolutely astonishing. And with 2 young drivers as well, as now we see the sister Greystone McLaren, the Mackenzie Cresswell, around Charles Bateman, and that was very easy, wasn't it, coming through the Le Fagnier chicane. Marvellous stuff from Mackenzie Cresswell, up into 8th place now.
The other thing you've got to consider there, George, as well, is that the lead for Gertz over Tom Empson is about 18 seconds.
Yeah.
And the handicap that Gertz and Mansell have to serve in the next pit stop is only 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So really, there's only like a late safety car really that can throw a spanner in the works, or Motorpark shooting themselves in the foot, of course. That's always an option, but an unlikely one. So yeah, it's looking very, very good for that Motorpark crew at the moment. Bateman just struggles to get it into the bus stop chicane. Norbert Siedler in 10th position here, or potentially 9th now, because Morgan Tilbrook has fallen behind Charles Bateman. So that's a change for second place in Pro-Am that we've seen there, with Bateman getting around Tilbrook on that previous lap and putting the Blackthorn Aston Martin higher up the podium places. That is, the championship leading car in that category. Meanwhile, the FARC car that was victorious in Portimao, 4th in the standings going into this weekend.
Yeah, we are back once more with the McLaren that's been damaged of Zach Meakin. Of course, around this same section of circuit where he went off and into the tyre wall, but now being pursued by Rodrigo Testa in that Lamborghini SVC, trying to obviously amass yet another position after a tricky start to the race. They have found their feet all of a sudden. Testa now lapping in the early 220s in comparison to Zach Meakin, who's lapping in the 222.658s, for example, over the last lap. So you're talking nearly 3 seconds of disparity, over 2.5 at the very least anyway, which will surely open up an avenue. Let's take a look back at the very start of the race, though. It was a great start. If you remember, for Maxi Gertz, he managed to get off the line very quickly. Tom Empson, though, no slouch. Really impressive start, managing to jump off the line as well. Some dazzling overtakes, though, elsewhere. Zach Meakin managing to move his way through past the SVC Lamborghini. Elite Motorsport then later lost out on P2 after Norbert Siedler made his way into second in the 911 Porsche. Then riding on board here with Greystone GT McLaren, Zach Meakin surpassing the Elite Racing Ferrari at the same time. This was what brought out the yellow flags, and then later the safety car. It was Laurent Demeus barreling into the barrier at the top of Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Later on, we saw the driver change period come into play. Tom Leben then jumped into the Elite Racing Ferrari. He would then be tackled by Tommaso Mosca, who was a man on a mission as well, after jumping in place of Rafael Duran. This was the SVC Lambo once again coming back into competitive foray. And then we saw this crash for Zach Meakin coming through Jackie Ixben that saw him damage the front right-hand side of the car. And then another driver change period then opened up. The FAC Auto Tech team, after a magnificent stint from Alexander FAC. And then we had another spin for Yaroslav Vesalaho, who unfortunately saw himself in a very similar manner to Zach Meakin, ending up spinning on the outset of Jackie Ixben. We're back, though, with the Elite Racing Tom Empson, now on the back of Alexander Schwarzer. So this is all about overall P2. Of course, for Schwarzer, regardless of what happens here, he'll still hold on to Pro-Am P1.
Yeah, that's the important thing for them, isn't it, George? As expect this to be a relatively simple move for Tom Empson. Good guy Paul Jeffrey from TCR Europe was here this weekend and bringing us some beverages in the middle of this race. Thank you very much, Paul. It's that northern friendliness, isn't it, that make him think of that. As getting caught up behind the back markers here. That's the Grupo Prom Mercedes. And Schwarzer managing to go around the outside, manages to hang on to second place still, but making life a little bit difficult there.
I thought we were going to have a Hakkinen moment then, but a different part of the racetrack. Yeah, not the right part of the track. Obviously, we're talking Kemmel for that, the Kemmel straight for that one, but very nearly having it on the run in towards the Lafanier section. So, yeah, that was interesting. But nonetheless, racing resumes. Empson on the back of Schwarzer now. 4 tenths is the gap going to the round, but Schwarzer not disgracing himself here, making life a little bit tricky here for Tom Empson. They would love to stand on the overall podium. That would be quite something,
wouldn't it? Would be immense, wouldn't it? But I don't know. I think there's just too much talent in the pro. Schwarzer is showering himself in glory here, though, at the moment. He's hanging on superbly for a driver with much less experience, coming up through the Sports Cup and Carrera Cup route before starting GT3 racing a couple of years ago. But 37-year-old German-Mexican driver going up against one of the young guns, one of the upcoming stars of GT3 racing in the form of Tom Empson.
Bad news for Rodrigo Testa. 5-second time penalty to be added to the race time for not serving the the less time the handicap, or certainly not necessarily the handicap, but the minimal pit time, I'm guessing, because we still need, I believe, another pit stop to go.
So the handicap is generally referred to as sort of your minimum pit stop time.
Oh no,
dramas!
Seidler.
Dramas for the ZRS Motorsport crew. That is a championship contending car, third in the standings, and it is now parking at the side of the road. And after a dismal middle stint, it is now made even worse with Seidler parked to the side of the road. He was going to have a 12-second time penalty anyway. It does not matter now because he's stopped at the bus stop chicane.
Further misery for the ZRS Porsche team that came into the International GT Open this season winning the opening race. And as you can see, the confirmation from race direction, 911 Porsche, 12-second time penalty to be added to the race time for less handicap time. That's not going to matter now. They are well and truly out of this race. That is so unfortunate for a team that have been phenomenal. A small outfit, you have to say. Taking part in this championship this season, obviously run, like I said, by Elena, who is only in her early 20s, managing the team, and then her brother Ricardo as well, head mechanic for the ZRS crew. Obviously disappointed for them as well. They obviously would have wanted something more from this, potentially, given the nature of the point system as well, because remember, they're doubled for the Enduro events we have this season.
Yeah, so if you don't score here, this is your drop score for the whole race, because you get 2 of them. But if it's one of the endurance rounds, then that counts as both of them because it's double points. So
it's not one you want to drop.
That is pressure on now for the rest of the year for the ZRS crew.
They're going to have to be perfect at Monza. Speaking of perfect, is this going to be a perfect move for Tom Empson up the inside now of Schwarzer? And that was a lovely overtake to take 2nd overall on track for Schwarzer. He's had a dazzling run there, but P3 is where he stays, but with, crucially, the Pro-Am lead.
Where does the yellow flag zone start there?
Turn 19 at the moment.
Yeah, but where does it start in the braking zone? Does it start in the middle of the chicane? If there were yellow flags there,
well,
then...
in which case you can make the overtake. Can't overtake under the yellow flags.
Exactly. What have we got here? We got the move from Empson. We need to rewind the tape a little bit and see if there were any yellow flags flying in the braking zone to see if that was indeed the case.
Just look at the gap, though, between Ps1 and 2 now, though, Chris. 21.3 seconds between Gertz and Empson. Motor Park are in dreamland at the moment.
Absolutely. Not sure Elite would have thought that seeing the ZRS car parked at the side of the road might bring them their dream of a safety car, but it's not the case for now. Still got another 16 minutes until that final pit stop where the handicaps will be served. Look at this, the Elite car going to put a lap on the AF Corsa machines, the 96. That goes to show just how much damage was done in that contact with Carol Bash's Olymp Ferrari, that little clang they had as Yifei was trying to get into pit lane.
Well, by the looks of it, they were handed a penalty in accordance to the time history. It just went off, actually, off our screen. So looks like they've been issued...
the 96 was?
Yeah, okay. Issued a penalty. I think it was 12 seconds that they've been given for that.
But there was 12 seconds for 911. 12 seconds, that's an odd time for contact.
It seemed to disappear off the screen rather quickly as soon as it was up. I was double-checking. It definitely said 96 car, so, yeah, interesting.
Okay, weird one. I'll wait to see if that comes up again or if we get confirmation on the screen or anything like that.
They might show it again with a different time against it or something, you never know.
So, 41 laps completed by the leading Motor Park Mercedes, number 71. And 20.8 seconds the advantage for Maxi Gertz now over Tom Empson, who's up into 2nd place now. We'll see if Empson can try and close that gap a little bit. Now he's in clean air. we know that that gap is going to come down by 10 seconds anyway. And
Speaking
yes,
of the
actually,
devil.
over the last lap, 6/10 quicker than
Personal
Maxi
best.
Gertz. And yeah, the best lap for that car in this race. So interesting, interesting one there. Keep an eye out on that. So yeah, another 14 minutes to see how this one's going to play out. In terms of the last spot on the podium, we got a 5-second penalty for Rodrigo Testa, but he is 7 seconds ahead of Zach Meakin in a limping Greystone McLaren. So potentially SVC still in a good position for the overall podium, assuming Testa will make his way up to the back of Schwartz's car.
Well, if anything, Rafael Duran is the problem for Zach Meakin at the moment, being 4 tenths behind. We're going to take a look at this little moment now. The treble 7, that's Marcin Jedlinski rubbing shoulder to shoulder with Michael Blanchimont, heading down into the, and look at that, just getting onto the painted surface, and there's no grip out there.
So that's a clang it's had on both sides of that 777 Ferrari now, as Blanchimont was squeezing Jedlinski over to driver's left while he was trying to deal with, I think it was the Pedersen Porsche, wasn't it? That was moving a bit slowly into the bus stop chicane. Dare I say it, George, the sun's starting to poke out a little bit.
I did say earlier on the grey clouds have dispelled somewhat,
Yeah.
so I don't think we're going to see a reappearance. I don't want to curse anything, but I don't think we're going to see a reappearance of the rain.
Who's that Belgian TikToker who always says there's no sun in Belgium? We need to show her this.
Well, it looks bright, doesn't it, even on our monitors?
It looks good there, doesn't
So,
it?
yeah, certainly coming around the Blanchimont section, which actually marries up with what I'm seeing at the commentary box window right now with the lack of grey clouds. They actually look relatively pearly white. So for those of the drivers that are on the dry tyres, I'd imagine all of them are at this point, though, bar perhaps the Stanislav Jedlinski Ferrari, which opted for the wet tyres when they came in. Not sure whether they've come in since and had that changed, but obviously I think that was done more for Stanislav's benefit, really, at this point, given the nature that there is a damp surface in certain parts, perhaps, of the circuit if he finds it. But yeah, Darmetko, though, moving up into 11th place. That's a Pro-Am move as well. So that's Pro-Am P5 for him and 11th overall, and he's now looking to hunt down Michael Blanchimont, a 4-second gap between those two, so that could spark something up in the fight over the Pro-Am podium, because Morgan Tilbrook is there at the moment in P3 in Pro-Am, and Blanchimont's only 1.7 seconds behind him.
Yeah, so Tilbrook and Darmetko are taking handicap in the next stop, aren't they? Is 97 as well? Yes, so goodness me. So basically, second and third for Pro-Am is anybody's guess at the moment.
No.
Oh, more
Marchand.
dramas for 777. And at the bus stop chicane again.
Same, yeah. Again, we talk about that confidence element. Once you have one spin in one location, it can sometimes come back to haunt you. And that looks like that's exactly what's happened to Marcin Jedlinski. It might still be quite damp in certain places there, though, Chris, because the water can sometimes pool up in certain locations. Let's take a look at this, though.
Oh, it's the Pedersen Audi Porsche, sorry, again. And oh, look at that. He was really trying to open up the corner, and I think was just a bit overzealous.
I think trying to get the run, wasn't he? Heading down in towards the first corner and getting stuck on the curb.
Very lucky not to beach that.
Yeah, well, he was, yeah. Any further, he might not have gone in out at all. So
this is the fight for third position overall. The Pro-Am leader, Alexander Schwarzer, under pressure from Rodrigo Testa. And you might be thinking, well, you know, they're in different classes. Why does Testa care about it? Because the pro cars fight for overall honours. That's where their points come from. So if it were to finish like this, for example, the 63 would only get the points for fourth. They still need to make their way through on the Pro-Am and Am cars. And so, you know, Schwarzer won't care about it necessarily as much because he's fighting for class honours, but for Testa it's important for championship points.
I mean, of course, Schwarzer, an overall podium would be a blessing, but like you so rightly say, Chris, it's more about the Pro-Am. No! And that's, if I'm not mistaken, Dexter Muller behind the wheel of the SPS car barn machine.
Was in 6th place.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that looks like it's come to a grisly halt for the time being anyway, unless they can get it going again. But that is a very, very sorry sight indeed for SPS.
So that's coming out of Malmedy, and that's in a mildly precarious spot. We might...
He's got it going. He's going again. Well done, Dexter.
Stand by safety car, and you can stand down, sir, because I'm sure several teams would have been really hoping that was going to turn into a safety car, but Dexter Muller continuing on, and we're going to see it's, oh my goodness, the 777 again. Bish bash bosh on the left-hand side, and Muller gets pushed into the gravel. Not a whole lot Dex could have done there, I'm afraid.
And did make an impact as well with the barrier. Just pivoting after the rubbing against the Olymp Ferrari 296, dipping into the gravel, all traction gone, and was lucky actually to keep his spoiler as well, actually, because that could have very easily been ripped off if it made contact with the barrier. Now it's wheel to wheel though, here over P3 overall. This is Rodrigo Testa with the idyllic line of the inside of Rivage. Very nicely done indeed, sir. The Lamborghini now inside the top three. Alexander Schwarzer now reduced to 4th place. But like we've said, Pro-Am P1, that's what matters.
Two of the best sounding cars out there. And unfortunately, SVC running the sole Lamborghini in this field. It is the Huracan. No Temerarios available owing to their limited numbers in existence. But Scuderia Villorba Corsa, a Lamborghini supported team, and running 2 drivers who will be at the Lamborghini Junior Shootout at the end of the year. And that is how Rodrigo Testa took 3rd place overall. And so could still well be on for the podium places here for SVC, which would be a nice bit of redemption after not being able to take part in the first meeting in Portimao.
Yeah, the gap growing between Gertz and Emson slightly. They were actually fairly equal over the last lap, but it's now 22.7. So Mansell, or Gertz I should say, go into work.
It's just traffic, George, I think.
Yeah, obviously trying to manage his, well, runs against some of the back markers that they're facing off against.
Giveth and it taketh away.
They certainly do. Obviously, depending on where they are on track at certain occasions. Hubert Darmetko, fastest in the first sector again. That BMW M4 rearing its head again up the Kemmel Straight. So showing some good speed once more. 57.2 currently left on our timer until the end of the race. Don't forget the driver change that's going to be opening up in around 7 minutes and 20 seconds. So we'll be seeing a reappearance very soon of Christian Mansell as well. We'll be hoping to take the checkered flag in the same way Levente Revesh did 12 months ago.
Yeah, so down into Rivage for Maxi Gertz, and says a lot. He was here this weekend rather than competing in the Nürburgring 24 Hours. Of course, he's been there for the last several years with Mercedes as part of their full factory efforts. But he said, no, I want to focus on my championship campaign with Christian Mansell, which of course he couldn't do with Levente Reves last year.
Tilbrook.
And that is a spin for Morgan Tilbrook, and he was running in a podium place, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In the Pro-Am category, in the Optimum McLaren. So that has put Michael Blanchimont up into the provisional podium places for Santalog. It's all looking very familiar there, George, isn't it, from Portimao? All these guys who fought for the podiums. Santalog came away with 2 podium finishes in Portimao, in fact.
And important to note as well, Darmetko actually managed to enlist a 219.5 over his last lap, which is very competitive for the Pro-Am outfit, and has actually now placed himself within half a second. In fact, make that 3/10 on Michael Blanchimont.
Second fastest car on the racetrack.
Yeah, exceptional speed, and still obviously the fastest in the speed trap, but we know why, because of how quick they are inside the first sector.
Mackenzie Cresswell is the fastest car on the racetrack at the moment, actually, in 5th position, trying to close down that 4-second gap to Alexander Schwarzer, and then it's another 2 seconds up the road to Rodrigo Testa. So Greystone's podium hopes may not be completely erased just yet. Although that being said, actually, 44 is going to take 10 seconds at the next stop, isn't it? Because it is a new entry for this weekend. They are due to be making a few other appearances throughout the year, because Jaden Kelly doing GT4 Challenge Endurance this year, Mackenzie Cresswell doing GT4 European Championship. So basically, the rounds that don't clash with us, they'll be here for some extra running as well. But always great to have 2 pro cars from Greystone. It's a very strong effort from them at the end of last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Greystone getting stronger and stronger every year.
5-second time penalty for the good speed Aston Martin, which is a track limits penalty. Just trying to see where they are at the moment. They're not on the first page of our timing screen, so it's not going to affect the podium in the AM category.
Yeah, and, this is the battle in the Pro-Am field as well, because in comes Darmetko looking to move his way through the field. He's chasing after Michael Blanchimont, though. That is essentially a lap car that they're trying to overtake at the moment, and the BMW Grunt heading through towards the left and right of Eau Rouge and Radion. Let's listen into this now.
That's brilliant stuff, and
listen to it,
and yeah, chasing the
here it comes.
Audi.
Look at his straight line speed.
This has been the strength of the BMW ever since this M4 came out, and the straight six blasting past the V10. No answer for Darmetko's straight line speed there in the PTT BMW, and that's the change for third position in Pro-Am.
First class from Darmetko, making use of the abilities and prowess of the BMW M4 GT3. And now they managed to successfully dodge and weave past the Santalok Audi. And next there will be, well, they'll try and close up to the back of Charles Bateman. We'll wait and see what's going to happen in terms of that Pro-Am battle when the driver change window opens up next.
This is the battle for fourth position. Mackenzie Cresswell on the back of Alexander Schwarzer. So again, this the Pro-Am leader with the silver class drivers closing up to him. The gap, though, between Schwarzer and his next class rival has grown even further. 24 seconds it is now over Charles Bateman, which is the next car, and with 3 cars between them as well, as Cresswell breaks very late around the outside of the bus stop chicane, moves himself up into fourth position.
Yeah, giving Greystone something to shout about after the misfortune for Zach Meeking earlier on that saw him unfortunately hit the barrier coming in towards Jackie Hicks. Back comes Schwarzer, though, with a look around the outside. Might choose to double back and switch back, taking a wider line on the outset of La Source. We'll take a look at the moment once again. Coming in towards the bus stop chicane, taking that wider line late on the brakes. And, of course, that more rounded line managing to cultivate a place gain for them. We'll see, though, whether anything changes, because, of course, the slipstream may pay off here for Schwartz. Maybe not, though, because Cresswell getting a lovely run over the crest and now heading up the Kemmel Straight, leading up through towards Les Combes. It's fourth place now for this Greystone machine, and showing that there is still plenty of promise for this squadron from the UK. So after losing Zach Meekin earlier on, that was a sorrowful moment, but Cresswell giving them something to shout about as we now rejoin the 27 of Morgan Tilbrook, hovering all over the back of Michael Blanchimont.
So this is for fourth position in the category, after Blanchimont lost that spot to the BMW on the previous lap. And Tilbrook, the British GT race winner, British driver, making his way up to the top of Radion in the slipstream of the Audi. The twin-turbo V8 hard at work in the slipstream of the Audi, but nothing doing on the Kemmel Straight this time around. We've only got a minute and a half until the final driver change window opens. So just to remind you, the race-leading car, the 71 of Maxi Goetz, will be stationary for 10 additional seconds in pit lane, as will the PTT Racing BMW, both of the Greystone GT McLarens, least of their worries on the 33 at the moment, as will the second place car in Pro-Am, the Blackthorn Aston Martin. It is 5 seconds added for several of our guest entries for this weekend. So that's the Mikkel Pedersen Racing Porsche, the Iron Lynx Mercedes, the Carbahn by SBS Mercedes. That's as a result of their podium finishes last time out in Portimao, as well the Santalok Audi that we're looking at now, the guest entered Optimum Motorsports McLaren that we can also see as well. 15 seconds for the 2Cs car, and for the Baron Motorsport team, that's based on their success in the AM category last time out in Portimao, and a whopping 25 seconds for the number 16 AF Corsa car. That is a combination of their success handicap, but also handicap because they've got Khalid Osman, a silver class driver in their class, but is over 40, so it is eligible for the AM category with a handicap. And right on cue,
the change is on. Yeah, it is on now, folks. We've ticked to 0. The change is now green, as now Morgan Tilbrook hovers all over the back of Blanchimont. Do they decide to come into the pits as soon as now? Have they gone onto the radio? Yes, they will. Blanchimont, Michael Blanchimont managing to enter the pit lane first ahead of Morgan Tilbrook. Tilbrook may have wanted the advantage inside the pit lane in order to get the place one and done prior to the driver change. Dibionka now also will be making his change coming into the BMW. Of course, in place of Darmetko, who put in a brilliant stint of his own after overtaking Blanchimont on the run-up through Kemmel, showing off the speed of that BMW M4. In comes the Santalog Audi, and Jim Pla will take the wheel.
Yeah, just thinking, the Blackthorn Aston Martin's got such an advantage over the chasing cars that its handicap might not make any difference. So we'll see in about 13 minutes' time when they all come back out again. Although expecting most of these guys to come in pretty early doors to get their pro drivers to take them through to the end of the race. Carol Bash getting aboard the Olymp car. Marcelo Ramirez vacating the 28 Mercedes that's had a bit of a troubled race. As the Track Focus team just wheel their car a bit further forward. I hope that's not any problems. They're not wheeling it into the garage. No, going to work now. They've got enough time to settle into that one. So James Kell taking that car to the checkered flag, but Maxi Goetz continues to stretch his legs. A really difficult lap for Tom Empson last time around. 3 seconds slower than the race leader. The gap now nearly 28 seconds. It just all keeps falling into place, doesn't it, for Team Motorpark?
Yeah, and certainly that 10-second handicap surely won't make a scratch. It's a personal best in that first sector again for Maxi Goetz, and still continues to plough in the improved Delta. We've got more and more cars coming in. The SVC Lambo is in. We've got cars coming in elsewhere. Stuart White, Khalila Letlarka will be making their changes as well. White stepping into the car. We've got plenty of others, though, also doing the same. Of course, we saw the Kells exchanging. Yannick Mettler stepping in for Dexter Muller. Gaylord Osman. We mentioned the 25-second handicap that had to be served for the combination of Osman and, of course, Marcello Hahn. There is the SPS Performance Mercedes, of course, the Carbahn team. Dexter Muller
taping up a bit of the front bodywork there. That's,
after the impact.
Yeah, looking a little less pristine now after the nose into the barriers. Johnny Adam, that World Endurance Championship racer, will take the Blackthorn Aston Martin to the checkered flag. Ifeye back aboard 96. Tommaso Mosca back aboard 51 now. And Alexander Fark, of course, back aboard number 11.
Well, there's Goetz. Now looking to try and move his way back through the field again. He's got Amir Naran for company in front of him at the moment, and that car incidentally was given the message for blue flags through the timing screen earlier on. It's now got to try and give way, or certainly give way to Goetz, but Goetz decided to come into the pits, and why not indeed? He's got plenty of time. There's Timo Rumpf-Kyle, the team boss of Motorpark team, observing as the driver change period for them kicks off with Christian Mansell, the Aussie Diamond, back again here to take the car to the very end. And will he be crowned a race winner in the International GT Open for the first time? And what a way to do it, winning the Spa 500.
Would be his first win in the GT3 category as well, wouldn't he? Only made that switch over from single-seaters at the very end of last year. So it'll be a momentous occasion for Christian Mansell. And a championship campaign would be very much on, heading to Misano as we go back to the normal sprint 2-race format for our next race weekend in 3 weeks' time. Slick tyres going back aboard the number 5 for Christian Korzanowski. Back out onto the racetrack there is Alexander Fark. Still has the lead. Oh, that's slow-moving Yannick Mettler, yes, with some sort of problem, keeping the indicator on to
alert the other cars.
Alert the other cars. 5-second time penalty being dished out to the Santalog Audi for forcing another driver off the racetrack. I think that was that kerfuffle with Marcin Jedlinski at the bus stop. That is a content Maxi Goetz, isn't it? That's a man who's pleased with himself.
Do you know, in his head right now, job done. That's exactly what he's thinking right now. It's now all in the hands of Christian Mansell to bring this home for Motorpark team. And quite a big moment in his GT3 career at this very tender stage here. real chance here for Mansell to show his worth, not only to his own team at Motor Park, but to perhaps others in their quest for championship success, and almost certainly will take them to the top of the championship for the first time this season as well, Chris.
50 laps completed by the race leader, which is now Tom Empson, in the middle of this pit stop cycle. We'll see if Elite can do anything to reduce the arrears. Of course, there's been the 10-second handicap served by Team Motor Park. If there is a late safety car, then I think it will be game on, really. But right now, it's looking very green for Team Motor Park as their final pit stop for the FARC Auto Tech crew. So Lucas Wolf, his second driver for this weekend. Joel Monegro normally runs solo, as you can do in the AM Championship. And Mettler back into pit lane, sadly. Oh dear, it's all coming undone for SBS.
Yeah, maybe more concerns here for the SPS Performance team. Obviously with Mettler behind the wheel, we saw the indicator flashing, cars going by.
Guy's even going to get to his box.
It is literally limping its way back to the box right now. There's Elite making their change. Tom Empson swapping out for Tom Leben, who will take it right to the very end. It's down to them to try and put a hole in this gap between themselves and the, we believe, on-track leaders. There's the Mercedes up on the jacks as they now look to take a look and see what the damage is right now. But it does look like a terminal issue for that Mercedes in this race.
Ah, what a shame. Two-time podium finishes in the two races we've had so far this season, and that was a real trait of the last season for them as well. They just kept finishing on the podium, didn't they? And finally get the win, but into the garage. That's the end of the day for the 54. Such a shame, but I'll be back in Misano, and hopefully a trouble-free weekend there. It's the latest of all, unfortunately, along with the likes of the ZRS Motorsport Porsche.
We have had a message through regarding that incident involving Dexter Muller and Marcin Jedlinski. No further investigation necessary on that one from race control. So that's their message on it.
It's, I wouldn't be surprised if that was contributing to their race finishing early, but they've got more information than me.
Yeah, fastest lap of the race last time out was, well, it was Dominic Baumann. Tommaso Mosca was fastest in the middle sector, still is, but fastest lap of the race just stolen away by Leonardo Moncini with a 2:17.684.
That is rapid. That is absolutely rapid. So it's not over yet in terms of SVC potentially battling for second place. Mosca now doing the fastest lap of the race now, 2:16.9. So the pace is coming down like crazy. I'm sure they will have saved all their fresh tyres for this final stint, but game on for a spot on the podium, I would say, as we've got the last stop here for the third and final Greystone car. So it should be Lebon out in a net second place. The last car to stop here should be Mackenzie Cresswell, handing over to Jaden Kelly, still out on the racetrack, but the gaps behind. Christian Mansell definitely lost more than 10 seconds to the Elite car, though, because according to our timing screen, the gap is now under 13 seconds.
Yeah.
And so that would equate to more of a 15-second loss in the pit lane compared to the Elite car. Moncini 5 seconds further back from them, but remember they have a 5-second time penalty. 12 seconds further back from that is Mosca.
Yeah, because it was approximately 28, wasn't it, I believe, the second gap. So it's come down immensely.
About 15 seconds.
Yeah, immensely.
So I wonder where those extra 5 seconds have come from.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, Mansell is lapping fairly quickly. He's put in 2 personal bests over the last 2 sectors, so...
I have written it down, right? Yeah, you've got the same information as me, haven't you, about the 71? It was 10 seconds of serving, not 15.
Yeah, no, correct. Yeah, no, 10 seconds. Absolutely right.
Well, yeah, 2 second-place finishes adds up to 10 seconds.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
OK, well, that extra 5 seconds has come from somewhere. Well, we'll keep an eye on the pace.
Absolutely. Well, they're going to cross the line now. Personal best lap for Christian Mansell, 2:17.5. He's now managed to throw in, so that's not bad at all. And in comparison against Mackenzie Cresswell, who are on track at the moment, is your race leader. Of course, he's got to come in to have a driver change. 2:18.1 for that McLaren against a 2:17.5, so 0.6 better in favour of Christian Mansell. Not that he'll catch Cresswell in time to pass necessarily on track, because of course the gap is 58.6. So that's Greystone GT McLaren will be coming in very soon to serve its stop. More changes elsewhere. Baron Motorsports, the Ferrari making a change. The Lewandowski's at work. Adrian Lewandowski will swap out, and it'll be Andre stepping in.
Baron Motorsport still could come away with an AM podium here. Race winners in Portimao, and our championship leaders after an additional second place finish. It's going to be very tight between them, the AF Corsa crew, and Joel Mornegro after this one, particularly when you factor in the double points. So AM Championship looking competitive as ever, as indeed is the Pro-Am. It's just great competition all the way through the field.
As it often is.
We try and tell as many of the stories as possible, but there's so much happening that a lot of it, unfortunately, does get left on the cutting room floor.
It does.
But yeah, not to understate just how much fun these guys are having and how much drama there can be.
Yeah, the big help for the Lewandowskis is that obviously Gaylord Osman, whilst of course he has just overtaken, it was approximately a 50-second gap earlier on. I mean, it's coming down. Obviously, remember they had to serve 25 seconds during their stop. So,
96 going into the garage as well now, George. Now that was another one,
I believe.
Yeah, so that car was involved in one of 777's many clangs in this race, and that was in the pit lane entry, and it seems terminal now. So, unfortunately, if for Yates, it's an early shower for him. He was here last week for the World Endurance Championship race in the 499P, but yeah, it's early end to the day for the 96 crew.
It was unfortunately Yaroslav Veselaho who actually lost it coming through the Jackie X section. We got side-by-side further up as well, but our eyes are panned at the moment on Christian Mansell as we now divert our attention back now to the number 12 car making its way. This is Lucas Wolf, who we were just seeing, trying to make its way through the field. See Mansell now climbing up the hill through Rouge and Radion.
Cresswell's got to come in this lap. There's only a minute and a half left on the drive change window. And remember that 44 is taking 10 seconds of handicap as one of our new entries. But as I say, they will be joining us for a few select rounds, as will the Pedersen Porsche, actually. It's their GT3 debut here this weekend. Mikkel Pedersen leading the team. And I was chatting with him earlier, saying just going to try and focus on the driving rather than trying to engineer the car myself as well. Because they had a slightly difficult Q2 when Mikkel was in the car, and so they'll be out I think next weekend in Misano as well, and they might actually bring some cup cars for GT Cup as well, and dual campaign that, because they do have plenty of Carrera Cup cars for the Scandinavian Championship. As in comes Cresswell for his final stop.
Yep, and it'll be Jaden Kelly who takes over. I've just been looking at the sky actually at the window, because I noticed that Mansell has his wipers on, and it does look slightly greyer out there.
Do you know what? I don't think it's really truly stopped raining all day.
No,
to be honest with you, because it's just sort of lingering in the air. But I don't think it's anything that's going to affect these guys too terribly much. I'm just trying to do some mental maths here, just because we've only got 36 minutes left on the clock. We're only on lap 54.
Yeah.
And 72 was the target for the 500-kilometre distance. It could well be this is the first time we don't hit the 500 kilometres and actually have this race go down to time.
Yeah.
Which is, not even in when we had the really wet one in Monza, and that was quite interfered with on safety cars. And I don't think even then we didn't have that.
Well, we have the it's 35 minutes, obviously, and a half, obviously, plus the one lap on top. So we'll see where it sits.
Might just sneak it.
You never know. We'll wait and see, obviously, when we hit the timing beacon for the final time. But obviously, Christian Mansell now about to take the absolute race lead here. Obviously, Jaden Kelly still in the pits. Obviously, Mansell has already gone past. So as soon as that timing screen updates, Mansell, as you can now see, has taken the lead here on this final stint, and very keen to get past this collective of cars that are back markers for him. Just needs to focus now on what's in front. Never mind what's going on behind. Leben is 15.3 seconds back, and Moncini venturing out 4.5 behind as well, as we now see side by side. So that's the 44 of Jaden Kelly rejoining the race, and therefore out in P5 behind Tommaso Mosca.
That was the FARC Porsche going by
yes.
him, so that'll be in P6.
Yeah.
As, Mansell's started to re-establish the gap a little bit, 4/10 quicker on that previous lap. So the gap now back up to 15 seconds. Moncini still running in third and 7 seconds ahead of Tommaso Mosca. That's come down quite substantially. That was 12 seconds when they rejoined the race, and last time round, that was a combination, I think, of a difficult lap for Moncini and a great one for Mosca, because he was damn near 2.5 seconds quicker than the Lamborghini last time around.
Yeah. First 2:18 as well for Theodor Jensen, 2:18.817, and he's on a PB as well in the first sector again, so showing some good pace, obviously well outside the Pro-Am Championship fold, well, in terms of the podium fold anyway, but we'll see what he reigns in. Of course, this is his first GT3 appearance as a whole, so obviously I'd imagine that will give him a little bit of confidence and, you know, something to move on from for next time wherever he goes.
Leonardo Moncini, a couple of years ago, following in the footsteps of his father of winning the Italian GT Championship. His father, Emanuele, won it in 2010. Leonardo won it in 2022. And fun fact, Emanuele actually very nearly won the GT Open title in 2011 with Scuderia Valorba Corsa, alongside Andrea Montemini. So
following in the footsteps.
Very much following the footsteps of the father. But maybe if he does win the title, step out of the shadow of the father.
Well, who knows? Who knows? I mean, he's already a champion, like you so rightly say. But likewise, his father also an Italian GT champion. So there we go. Has actually raced GT World Challenge in recent years, ever since I believe 2023, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's telling me he's getting to grips with the Michelin tyre, because in Italian GT and in GT World they run Pirellis.
Yeah,
so,
correct.
He's been having to get used to that quite a bit.
Yeah, different set of boots. Racing here, but definitely seems well versed. Was excellent in qualifying coming into this. Really impressed us all. Featuring up at the very front as well. Just unfortunately did not necessarily get the best of starts for the race with Rodrigo Testa at the wheel. With conditions being a bit mixed, it was a challenge. Flash of the lights here as well as we see the Aston Martin coming under fire now for Tommaso Mosca.
It was another 1.5 seconds quicker for Tommaso Mosca than Leonardo Moncini last time around. Flashing the lights there, trying to get around the good speed Aston Martin. So putting a lap on that AM car. Getting himself some clean air now, but the gap rapidly descending. Remember, he only needs to be within 5 seconds of Moncini to actually take the podium place, because the 63 has that 5-second time penalty, which was that was for handicap not being served correctly in the second pit stop, if memory serves correctly.
Yes, that would be correct. Because they do still have the sign against them, which means they will lose time at the end of the race. So that again throws fortune into the hands of Mosca again. So even if they don't catch them, I highly anticipate they will, because Mosca's just set in a personal best in the first sector once more, on top of the 2:17.4 that they did over the last lap. So Mosca is starting to really reel in the big fish here against Leonardo Moncini.
Yeah, we should keep an eye on the gap between Jim Pla and Ben Barnicut as well, because Jim Pla running third in Pro-Am for Santalok is only 5.4 ahead of Ben Barnicut in the Optima McLaren, but the 26 does have a 5-second time penalty as well for that contact with Marcin Jedlinski earlier on in the race, so we need to keep an eye on that. Carol Bash only a further 3 seconds back from them as well, so lots on offer still there. In AM, it's hard to look past FARC Autotech at the moment. Lucas Wolf doing a sterling job out there. Galid Osman more than a minute behind the class leader.
Multi-class winners potentially here, you know, obviously.
That'll be extraordinary, won't it? It'll be their first win in AM, and on top in both categories for the Swiss team, if it were to end like this.
A very strong weekend for both cars, and obviously scoring some important points in respective championships. As we take another look at Christian Mansell, 16.2 seconds now ahead of Tom Leben. The lap last time out, he was half a second quicker than Leben. despite Leban posting a personal best of a 2:18.7. DeBianca continuing to cruise in that BMW inside that first sector. He's purple again on this lap inside that section of the track. And in fact, his last lap was a PB as well with a 2:18.2. So there's a furious battle over the podium places, the remaining spots on the Pro-Am podium at the moment. Johnny Adam, of course, 4.6 to the good ahead of Jim Pla, but you've got Ben Barnaco. Now, if there's any way that those deltas are whittled down in some way and they all club together, you simply never know with just under half an hour to go.
See the gap progression between Leban and Mosca in second and fourth. And it is Mosca with the pace, despite Leban doing personal bests. Mosca certainly looking like one of, if not the fastest car on the racetrack at the moment. But 26 seconds from the race leader, Christian Mansell. Still a podium on offer, though, for AF Corse. And again, just to highlight the competitiveness here in the International GT Open, we've got Mercedes, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, McLaren, Aston Martin and Audi all represented inside the top 10.
Yeah, and inside the top 8 in itself, which is absolutely outstanding. Fabian DeBianca, purple again inside the first sector. He is dishing out the goods in the first sector. But look, Marchini, obviously, certainly not disgracing himself by any means. A 2:18.2, still faster than Leban's personal best, as now we see the Greystone GT that's been under fire through the course of this race, this time with Dean McDonald behind the wheel of it. He's got the M4 BMW for company in the they've got the Mercedes behind by the looks of it. Dominic Baumann.
Yeah, DeBianca's just gone round him. Yeah. The 17-year-old debutant. You know, catching McDonald. Just to highlight how much McDonald will be struggling with the damage on that car. Yeah. DeBianca did that move relatively easy.
Yeah, and obviously now about to be surpassed by Dominic Baumann, who won't think twice in the power of that Mercedes AMG GT3.
Oh,
there he goes,
Blanchimont.
As if by magic. Oh, there he goes through the high-speed section. That's brave.
That's a spook right there. That would have.
Goodness me.
Frightened me just watching it.
The pace that they take through that bend is astonishing.
Yeah, but again, goes to highlight how much McDonald must be struggling with that car.
Yeah.
What could have been for the 33 crew today. And unfortunately, that's just the case for a lot of the squads out there. And that has made Team Motorpark's job just that little bit easier today.
No less than 911 Porsche, exactly the same.
Yeah, very true.
They were also coming off the back of a win at the very start of the season, back at Portimao. Different story here, though, with the car grinding to a halt. It's still there, in fact, you know, a sitting memento inside the final sector of what has happened to them through the course of this race for ZRS. Really unfortunate for Pietro Armani and, of course, Norbert Siedler, who stepped in this weekend in place of Alex Fontana. As now Dean McDonald flies up through towards Les Combes. Was the damage still apparent on that car? His last lap was a 2:23.530, far apart from where we would usually see Dean McDonald.
Yeah, well outside the top 10, so actually not even going to score points in this one now, George. And again, the point we were making earlier when the Siegler car pulled over, this is not the race you want to have your drop score from, because it just means you need to be perfect for the rest of the season. And you think about how many cars are already under that pressure. SVC, because they couldn't do Portimao, now ZRS, now Greystone as well, that just need to be perfect. Oh my goodness, that was getting even worse there. But that bodywork was starting to rub up against the tyre through Pouon. Just saw a glimpse of the smoke right before we cut away from there. And if Dean's not careful, he could end up with a front right puncture with that.
Yeah, aware at the compound till it obviously penetrates and then the damage is done. As Mansell now makes his way through Rivage. Little flick of sideways action there from the 88 of James Kell, who was, of course, teammates with Dean McDonald last season. There's Maxi Gertz, quite content inside the garage. No less the same expression he had when we saw him earlier on, putting his, of course, earpods away and putting his helmet to rest.
I need to remind myself where he gets his glasses from. He's got such great taste in spectacles. I know, I think they're one of his sponsors. So he always got a fresh look on inside the garage.
He certainly is. somewhat the king of style, really, on this grid, in many ways. Christian Mansell was also the king of style once. I remember an interview we did in the Euro Formula Open where he wore a Doctor Who-style overcoat alongside Josh Mason. And it looks something straight out of London Fashion Week. When we
like the long peacoat style.
Yeah, with the funny hats and the overcoat. And we did a whole interview with him and Josh Mason inside the paddock. It was extraordinary.
I wish I could have been around for that one.
Yeah, Christian Mansell, remember that very well, and I'm sure he does too. But he's got bigger things on his mind at the moment. Obviously, 38.9 inside the first sector was a personal best for him on this lap. His last lap before this one at 2:17.8, which is very, very quick. Still maintaining the fast pace inside this Mercedes-AMG GT3. And we'll see what the time is this time. Still growing the gap on Leben. The Leben with the gap to Tom Leben the lap previous was over a second faster. Again, though, he's done a 2:18 flat, which is not too bad at all. And that, again, 9/10 quicker than Tom Leben's previous lap. So Mansell comfortable on this racetrack inside this car. 18.7 the gap out in front. There's going to need to be something pretty spectacular to happen for anyone to stop this Mercedes now.
23.5 minutes on the clock. 60th lap we are now on, so 12 to go to do the distance. It's going to be right up to the wire. We might just be short if it's a 2 minute 20-ish lap at the moment, and we've got 23 minutes plus 1 lap. I don't think we're going to make it. If what, it's going to be very, very tight if we're going to do the full 500 clicks in this one. So battle for Pro-Am continues, and Ben Barnicoat has very much moved within the penalty space of Jim Pla. Remember that 26 green and white Audi has got a 5-second time penalty. So even if Barnicoat just follows him home, Optimum will have a podium finish here at the Spa 500 kilometres. Carol Bash still 5 seconds back from them, and in fact about 5 seconds up the road from Jim Pla is Johnny Adam in the championship leading Blackthorn Aston Martin.
Well, Barnicoat now within 7/10. He has got Jim Pla directly in front of him. Nothing stands in between he and the Audi R8 LMS at the moment as they make the climb up the hill right now. Elsewhere, of course, we do have some back markers that they have to obviously deal with as well at the same time. Andre Borodin behind the wheel of another McLaren 720S. Of course, part of the Greystone camp as well as they come through the Lacombe section.
In fact, George, my math is correct. Then Blackthorn and Fark Autotech will be tied on points at the head of the championship going into Misano. On countback, it will be the Blackthorn car ahead because they had a 4th place finish in Portimao.
There we go.
Oh, no, actually, no, excuse me. It would be the Fark car because they have 2 wins.
Yeah,
so, excuse me.
Win countback.
So Fark Autotech would have the lead in the championship then on countback.
Yeah. Well, they get past Andre Borodin to Jim Pla and Barnicoat. The battle resumes. See over this position out on track. They're contesting over that Pro-Am P3 position, which of course also is P8 overall. Still Fact though all the way out in front in Pro-Am as they now whip the tail out coming through Corbeil-Paul Frere.
I'm also trying to do some mental math in the AM Championship as well. I think we might have 3 cars tied on points there if it were to end like this. And my little brain is not going to be able to comprehend the countback on that one, so I will leave that to the timekeepers.
We will let them sort it out.
Yeah, I mean, if my maths is correct there. Of course, still very early in the championship, but that'd be crazy if we have 2 championships with same point standings.
They have all the supercomputers in the world to work that out. As we now watch the drivers make their way across the line once more. Fak, Adam and Pla, your top 3 at the moment in Pro-Am. And of course Barnicoat looking to jump within that top 3 as now we see another move for the treble 7 of Carol Bash. Just looking to move his way through past Borodin. He's got bigger things on his mind because he's 5.6 away from Barnicoat, but he's still got lapped cars in between him and the McLaren. Dominic Baumann also in close contention with Di Bianca over a P11 place. Dean McDonald continuing to drop through the field. Obviously the lap's not ideal given the nature of the damage that they have sustained. It was a 2:21 over the last lap, and against the likes of Dominic Baumann in a fellow pro car, a few seconds off the pace as Bash on the move again, just getting past the traffic. And coming through Lecom, comfortable from the Polish star, who has been in Pro-Am contention over multiple years. They've had their fair share of success of Olymp Racing, and they would love to achieve some more as well. Now resting on the Ferrari 296, moving away from the Audi R8 LMS that granted them success as well in the past, but now fully aligned with the sister car that races in the AM classes, driven by Stanislav Jedlinski and Christian Korzeniowski.
Yeah, and it's the Evo kit for the first time this weekend for the number 5. It was on the 777 in
Portimao.
In Portimao, yes, but now both cars running with the Evo kit. So that should be, of the 9 Ferraris we have on the grid, should be 6 of them with the Evo kits. The Dragon Racing car still isn't using one because they crashed the one in Portimao that you were reporting last time out, George. So yeah, they had to go back a spec.
Well, I actually spoke to Kalila Letlarka, and he actually said he preferred the pre-Evo one himself.
I never trust drivers when they say that, because I prefer it because I didn't have to spend thousands of pounds to update my GT3 car that I've already spent £500,000 on.
I'm not here to speculate, I'm just here to tell you what he said. So there we go. But yeah, no, he seems to prefer the pre-Evo edition.
He's the one writing the checkbooks, don't forget. So.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, it's his discretion. So there we go. Kalila Letlarka, of course, heading the Dragon Racing operation. Obviously, he's got Axel Jeffries in his corner for other rounds, but of course, tightly aligned with Stuart White this weekend.
Sorry, Joes, it's just a reminder from Race Control. Flashing is not allowed. They get reminded of this every single race weekend, and yet racing drivers still do it because it gives them an extra 30 horsepower. So they need to be a bit calmer on the button.
I would argue...
Right on cue, Tommaso. Thanks for that.
I would argue it runs the battery down, so that's my take on that. Alexander Fak in front, though, in Pro-Am. Another personal best inside the first sector. He is not done at all.
No, very, very true. Only 36 seconds away from the race leader, that Pro-Am car.
Yeah, it's been an exceptional race for them. I mean, Fak Autotech, I'd imagine they'll be partying hard after this result.
41 seconds. This has been the next car.
This has been one of the performances of the day, performances of the weekend for me.
Performances of the season.
Yeah, performances of the season.
Even when we get to Barcelona, we'll still be talking about this one. Because it's just brilliant.
I mean, it's unheard of, isn't it? Certainly considering, given the nature of the number of pros we have this season. You know, if you go back to 2022, we're nowhere near the same amount of pro cars as this, so the Pro-Ams would sometimes get involved in the overall fight. But this is different. You know, you've got the likes of a strong motor part lineup. You've got a strong contingent of Ferraris. You've got a strong contingent of Lamborghinis. You've got Mercedes, you know, as a whole with Mansell and Gertz. You've got Dominic Baumann, of course, further down as well. Dean McDonald in the McLaren, of course, alongside Zach Meakin. So, you know, this is an extraordinary performance from Alexander Fak and Schwarzer to finish ahead of Jaden Kelly, for one thing, as well as Mackenzie Cresswell in behind. I mean, they've beaten 3 pro cars today.
Yeah, and for the AM car as well, in 15th position overall, Lucas Wolff currently driving it, and I'm told that it could be Paul Meyer who joins Joel Monegro for the Monza 500 kilometres.
That would be a massive appointment.
It would be, yes. Yeah. I mean, the fastest driver in GT Cup Europe, the younger sibling series to the International GT Open. Spends a lot of time racing Porsche Cup machinery, and I think it's tested GT3, but I don't think he's ever actually raced a GT3 car. And of course, because he is he's a silver-class driver, but he's over 40, which means it would still be an AM car.
Yeah, just Philippe Salicata getting a little bit sloppy with the exit coming out of Jackie X.
Well, he's been told to respect the blue flags because Mosca's been behind him for a few corners now.
Yeah, well, could have sustained a lot worse than that after venturing into the gravel. We've seen drivers lose it there already a couple of times today. That led to the unfortunate damage that was sustained for Zach Meakin and Dean McDonald. And then also not forgetting Yaroslav Veselaho, who obviously had his pirouette there at the same time, which later saw them retire from the race, with Yifei, of course, aligned with him this weekend. It's a shame we haven't really been able to see the best of FAA this weekend due to the circumstances, obviously, of the situation. But a fabulous talent, and great to have him back with us as well after his successes in the Euro Formula. Still has the record for the most pole positions in the Euro Formula as well.
We were talking about him earlier in Euro Formula, weren't we? Because he's one of few drivers to have won all 3 races in a weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of rewrote the record book when he was in Euro Formula, and yeah, it was a great decision on his behalf to move into prototype racing. Le Mans winner, of course, but yeah, it's a shame we haven't seen what he's capable of today. I
mean, that was really, I suppose, around the beginning of when we started seeing junior drivers, I think, prioritise other elements of the sport. Certainly in the main line of things, you know, it's now becoming more and more common, you know, in today's day and age.
Yeah, absolutely. Still, this ISR Audi is ahead of Mosca. They're finally moving over now. I don't think he's not exactly in a particularly intense fight. Of course, it is the pro drivers aboard the Pro-Am cars now, and it's not by regulation. They weren't told to start with their bronze drivers and run the pros in the next stint. It's just that every team bar one has gone with that line of thought for this race, and so that's when the pace difference between these two cars is at its minimum. You know, Pro-Am cars are more than capable of setting pole position on the sprint weekends, for example, because they've got pro drivers aboard. But yeah, Felipe Salicada was not making life easy there for Tommaso Mosca, who's finally released and is well within the 5-second window of Leonardo Moncini. So 51 still on course for the podium, because that 63 does have a 5-second time penalty. But it is much closer for second place, though. So maybe there's still a little bit more on offer if Moncini can get around Le Bon in these closing stages. It'll be about 10 laps to go, 12 and a half minutes plus 1 lap, whichever comes first.
Yeah, and Mosca might have been slightly helped as well with the SVC Lamborghini dipping its toes in the gravel just coming out of the Fanier chicane as well. So there's a huge opportunity here. Obviously, if they continue to battle, it'll open a door here for Mosca, and Mosca is setting a personal best in the first sector as well, but literally being pushed around the bus stop chicane, Tom Levin, as they now look to cross the line, and this might be the opportunity that Moncini's been waiting for. Where's he going? Look into the grass on the inside. That's not the way to travel, as he now looks to take the long way around, coming through the source. He's going to try and hook it up and try the switchback, coming through out of the source. Swaps all over the back of the Ferrari 296. 2 Italian manufacturers now coming wheel to wheel over the podium places. Levin in second, Moncini in third. Now further back, Mosca. Maybe look at a close to try and enter his name into the fold. Oh no!
Oh, no!
Mosca's gone! My goodness me, they were in a hair's breadth of a podium here, and they've just pulled the car off to the side. It looks like that's it. Tommaso Mosca, Rafael Duran out of the race.
Cannot make this up, George. That's astonishing. So was that a puncture or was that a mechanical? Hopefully someone has caught on camera what happened to Tommaso Mosca, but he was on course for the podium. We're going to see just a slow-moving car. Goodness me! So it's pulled up way before. I assumed that was at Eau Rouge. No, that's before the bus stop. So goodness me! And oh, look at that Moncini going through the gravel. That has really rescued SVC.
It has,
because they're now going to hang on to this podium. Will it be second place? Was that the Greystone McLaren stopped on the?
Was that Borodin?
On the inside of Pouon? That's a precarious spot.
That is a very precarious spot. Borodin, by the looks of it, stuck on the inside of Pouon. Hopefully the drivers that are coming down will see that. I'm not sure what the visuals are like.
There are yellows there.
Yeah, which is a relief. Well done to the stewards for raising the flags on that one. See race control delivering the information. Yellow flags at turn 10. And we've also got the yellow flags at turn 18. Obviously, as far as Mosca's concerned, there is
facing
Borodin.
the wrong way.
Yeah, that's never good. So we'll wait and see what race control decide to do, because that is not necessarily a safe position to be.
I'd be late in the day. Let's see if Moncini can get this move done before if there's any call for a safety car, because we've got a car parked up at the driver's left here.
That would be a very misfortunate moment for Motor Park if that happened, because obviously it would rein everything back in if we had time to get laps in towards the end.
Depends how long we've got, really, doesn't it? If we get a safety car, we are definitely not going to the 500 clicks distance. It will go down to time. So Moncini again to the outside at La Source. Lebon handling this pressure very nicely, squared up on the exit at the corner for Moncini in the Lamborghini. And in the slipstream, let's see who's got the momentum through Eau Rouge. Moncini had a bit of a swapper through here last time around that cost him the run. Looks much better this time around, so it is the 3-litre twin-turbo V6 going up against the 5.2-litre naturally aspirated V10 in the Lamborghini. But it seems like advantage still with the Ferrari and with the elite crew heading into Le Combe.
Yeah. Elite managing to hang on. Tom Lebon doing a sterling job.
Johnny Adams suddenly lost an awful lot of time in the battle for second position in Pro-Am, so maybe Optimum can gain another spot on the podium here, because, the Blackthorn Aston Martin has suddenly lost about 5 seconds to Jim Pla and Ben Barnicoat. Game on. Yeah,
and this plays right into the hands of Ben Barnicoat. We know how quick he is. Obviously down in 8th place overall, but more importantly, battling for Pro-Am P3 and P2 in Pro-Am. So this is getting rather serious now. Johnny Adam is going to have to use all his experience to keep these two behind. Jim Pla accomplished, as is Ben Barnicoat. This is going to be a fascinating duel here at the end of this Pro-Am race as they climb over the hill. How is that Aston Martin going to fare in a straight line against this Audi R8 LMS? It's getting a little bit closer all the time. Does Jim Pla risk it for a biscuit on the run down through towards the Les Combes section? A look to the outside, the door slams shut by Johnny Adam, but may have compromised the exit somewhat. Malmedy might offer something here for the Santalok this time, not quite. Ben Barnicoat also waiting to see what the Audi decides to do, but Santalok still remains behind. It's still Johnny Adam for now in Pro-Am P2, but for how much longer, Chris?
He's got right up behind the Aston Martin in the middle of Rivage. I wouldn't be surprised if there was an attempt from Ben Barnicoat.
Yellow flag still at turn 10, mind you.
Yeah, Borodin's on the wet grass there, so he's going to really struggle to get that McLaren away under his own steam.
There it is.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Why have we not thrown a safety car for that? So, still going out there. It's, yellow flags are covering that off now. But still this battle for second place. It's the Aston Martin versus the Audi versus the McLaren. And still game on for second place overall as well. Still so much to decide here in the closing 7 minutes of this race. Moncini right up behind Lebon.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the Ferrari was superior in the last run they had up the Camel Straight. The Lamborghini not quite in a position to attack, and dare I say, I don't think it will be again. Lebon managing to find enough. I get the feeling if the Lambo wants to succeed here, it's going to have to happen in the middle sector, or certainly in the final sector, and that is where it's made its gains.
Yeah, the elite car's very good up Bradion.
Yeah.
And that's where it's able to just pull a bit of an advantage before getting onto the Camel Straight.
Yeah, it does seem to be advanced to that section. As you can see, the gap has expanded just through that spot on the circuit, and it does reflect as well in terms of the live timing, because it's a 39.3 for Lebon, 39.6, so 0.3 difference as they make their way through that section of circuit. Here's the battle once more over Pro-Am. We can't afford to take our eyes off anything at the moment. We've got battles across two classes, the overall and the Pro-Am. Very decisive moments that could come into play as far as our podium is concerned later on. Johnny Adam over the curbs as they rise up the hill once again. The Santalok Racing Audi, again, trying to urge itself a little bit closer, but dare I say, definitely not close enough like it was before. And even then, it wasn't necessarily successful, but a little look again by Jim Pla. So now he gets as late as he can onto the brakes, trying to follow the Aston through, as they now curtail through towards Malmedy, and then downhill through towards Rivage. Ben Barnicoat still part of this too, inside half a second in behind Jim Pla for now, late on the brakes as they dive down through to this progressive right-hander. And then it'll be another visit to Pouon, where yellow flags are still raised at the moment.
Yeah.
And, of course, just enlisting another instruction from race control. Car stopped at turn 10, so cars are to stay to the right-hand side.
They won't, though, will they? Because they're racing drivers Look at it, the platinum graded Aston Martin factory driver of 13 years, Johnny Adam, going up against the gold rated Jim Pla and the platinum rated Lexus factory driver in the form of Ben Barnicoat as well. That is just such an immense battle. Right, rinse and repeat here to the outside at La Source. Is this going to be the run for Moncini this time? He's tucked up behind, but we know that Elite Ferrari has looked very composed through Radeon and has been able to pull a significant enough advantage to the Lamborghini in order to keep it in front by the time they get to the Les Combes chicane. And it seems like it's been able to do so again, but maybe not to the same extent.
No, the gap still exists. It's not quite as big as it was the last time they came through the Radeon section. Now I'm coming up to the top of the course where Kemmel comes to an end, but then Les Combes begins, and then they find Malmedy before they funnel down through towards Rivage. But it is still Leben doing enough. 4 minutes, near enough to go. 4 minutes and 15 if you're picky. It is still Leben holding on to second, and because he's obviously too busy with what's going on behind him, Mansell's gap is continuing to grow. Here comes Jim Pla. Watch Barnicoat though, because he's got the better line coming out of La Source. That could be bad news for Sansalot Racing here, because they may lose out off the back of this Aston Martin. I don't think so just yet, but they're going to climb the hill nonetheless now. This battle over Pro-Am, P2 and P3, and also P4, all thrown into question while this continues. These final minutes are going to be action-packed here in the Spa 500. Johnny Adam, Jim Pla, Ben Barnicoat storming up the hill here, leading up through the Kemmel Straight. Again, Pla getting closer and closer all the time. Slightly defensive-minded from Johnny Adam. A swap there from Pla. Just having a look, throwing the warning shot. Not in a position to land an attack just yet, but he will cruise and push this Aston right through the course of the first sector, leading in towards Sector 2. This is juicy stuff, Chris.
Oh, what a joy to watch this between these just hugely talented and successful pro drivers at the absolute top of their games in this championship here. Johnny Adam on his first appearance of the season, Ben Barnicoat his only appearance of the season, but they're going to have some stories to tell after this one. Starting to run out of laps now as Moncini runs deep into the bus stop chicane. That's going to do him no favours at all. And the confirmation from race control, they're going to keep Tommaso Mosca's car at the side of the road at the bus stop chicane until the end of the race. Lap 68, or lap 69 now we're on. We're 3 away from the mark. I think we're going to be 1 short, George. 2.5 minutes plus 1 lap to go.
We said it would be close, but is it close enough? That's the question. We'll wait and see. But nonetheless, Leben this time has managed to enlarge that gap on the run out of Eau Rouge and Radeon, this time somewhat protected after the deep moment from Moncini coming into the first half of the bus stop chicane, not forgetting he will have the penalty to serve as well. But credit to Moncini, really giving himself every chance here over this overall second place result. But with all conditions still at large, Leben looks dead set to bring Elite a fantastic P2 result, which will mean oh so much to Eddie Ives and the team, who have really done well with 2 young drivers that really blossomed last season. We talk about the first win at Hungary, didn't we, Chris, last year? Absolutely unbelievable for this squadron, with a very, should we say, infant GT3 package so far. They're coming out of single-seaters. I mean, this is fantastic to see the progression of these 2.
Yeah, really strong stuff out there. It's Moncini still just looking at the back of the car. It must be so frustrating for him. Look at that, he's had another little wobble there into the Fagnes chicane. Maybe starting to overheat those tyres slightly. Not something you'd expect to say at the beginning of the day when it was about 8 degrees. And I'm wondering, where is our race leader, Christian Mansell? He's going to be coming across the line any second now, I'd have thought, to start the penultimate lap of the race. There he is. So 2 laps to go in the GT Open 500 at Spa. 26 seconds the advantage now for Team Motorpark and Christian Mansell. Mansell on course for his first ever GT3 victory. And Autopark with this win, I think, will match East Talent Racing in their win tally here in this championship.
And what a way to do it. in style. Oh, look at this, late on the brakes from Moncini. And just like he did a lap ago, ran far too deep. And that's just going to allow Leben to cruise back through. And the complication gets a little more exacerbated with the ISR Audi now moving by as well. 10 seconds left on the clock, and we'll be counting down to 0. And then after that, we will have a final lap. But as you can see, well, we just briefly saw a cutback, obviously looking at some of the replays. But the ISR Audi, I think, has now been firmly disposed of as we return to live pictures. And Elite Racing won't have to worry too much now, because obviously the Lamborghini will have to cruise up a little closer again, and he is running out of time.
But also, bear in mind, he'd have to pull 5 seconds on the Elite car anyway.
On top of getting the move done as well, which is certainly looking like it's not going to happen now. The clock's at 0, everybody. Final lap soon to be upon us. And Mansell in control, 27.3 seconds the gap, with Leben and Moncini still continuing to fight it out, despite Moncini, who no doubt is going to be given a post-race penalty.
So we are going to be just shy of 500 kilometres, sadly. 71 laps will be the final total.
Yeah. Well, nonetheless, here is the Aussie, here this time around. Christian Mansell, a fantastic effort. This is another replay of the late-braking manoeuvre from Leonardo Moncini. Just losing himself ever so slightly, a carbon copy near enough of what we saw before, only this time on the inside of the Elite Racing Ferrari. As now Mansell makes his way down through towards the final corners, very soon to cross the line, and will begin the final lap of the race, where we will see him enjoy almost a lap of honour here at this point.
I think they've all been laps of honour, George, haven't they?
Well, I'd say so. I mean, it's been a flawless performance, without any shadow of a doubt, not just by the drivers, but by the whole team.
Yeah.
I mean, they executed every pit stop perfectly. You know, on top of that, managing the back markers as well. A mature drive from a young man with a bright future, and has got a wonderful tutor alongside him in Maxi Gertz.
And I hate to say it, but you know, everyone else kind of fallen by the wayside today. Really, with penalties and mechanicals and contact. So it's just not been good enough from everyone else. Still the battle rages on. Moncini doesn't care if he has 5-second penalty. No. He's going for second place regardless. He will still finish in third unless Leben goes, he's going to run here. Oh no, the door's been slapped in his face.
And a flash of the lights. Moncini did not appreciate that, sir. As now Leben looks to fly up the hill through towards the chicane, coming through Eau Rouge and Radion. But again, is that Ferrari going to be slightly better? Indeed it is. The gap has now grown out once more. It looks like Moncini's going to have to wait a little longer, but it looks like that waiting, well, he may not have a chance to wait any further, because at the end of this lap, the checkered flag will be raised, and Leben, seemingly looking like he's done enough, just needs to keep it on the track now to bring it home for Eddie Ives and the Elite Racing Ferrari squadron. With the Lamborghinis of Moncini, they will still bring home a fantastic podium here, will SVC, after a sterling effort in qualifying. You know, they gave a grand account of themselves. It was a tough start to their race as well, wasn't it, Chris? I mean, if you consider what Tester had to go through when the conditions were a bit questionable, it wasn't ideal.
No, it certainly wasn't, but they've recovered very nicely. Shame about that 5-second penalty, but doesn't look like it's going to make any difference in the end. Although, because they've been squabbling so much, Alexander Fark is 7.7 behind. I doubt he'll lose 2 seconds on this final lap, but actually starting to cut it a little bit fine.
Well, years ago, we last witnessed Christian Mansell in the Euro Formula Open Championship, of course, taking on the likes of Ollie Goethe. After that, he made his way through the realms of Formula 3 and Formula 2. He then found love for GT3 racing, and now, making his way through the bus stop chicane, he's going to enjoy the grandeur, the wonder, the mystique of becoming a winner in the International GT Open. It's Christian Mansell. He wins the SPA-500 alongside Maxi Gertz. A perfect motor park performance delivered in true style. The Aussie takes it. It's Tom Leben, though, fighting his way down to the final corners. Moncini taking every inch, trying his luck. A punt in the rear as well for good measure. It won't affect things, though, because Tom Leben, for Eddie Ives' Elite Motorsport team, will take second on track. A wonderful performance. Moncini brings the car home. Penalty applied. He'll still finish third. And what a day for Alexandra Flack and Schwarzer as well. The FAC Autotech team take a stunning Pro-Am win here at Spa.
And it is confirmed a double win with victory in the AM category as well for Joel Monegro and Lucas Wolf in the sister number 12 car. Fantastic day for them. Who is going to be joining him on the Pro-Am podium, though, because Johnny Adam is still soaking up the pressure from Jim Pla, and if Ben Barnicoat stays in this fight as well, he will inherit the podium from the Santaloc Audi, which does have a 5-second time penalty. Johnny Adam, the Aston Martin factory driver, will just hang on to the second place spot through the bus stop chicane. It's been an almighty fight here in the Pro-Am category, but it's second position for Blackthorn, and Optimum Motorsport will take third position on corrected times, as Carol Bash will also benefit from that one. Fabian Dibianca about to cross the line as well for PTT Racing to complete their debut race in the International GT Open. We've had third over the line from the Lewandowskis for the AM podium. It will be AF Corsa in second, but there are the celebrations for Team Motorpark. Take their first victory of 2026 and make a real statement for defending the Drivers' Championship.
Mark your books, folks. There'll be plenty more to come after this for Christian Mansell, that's for sure. What an incredible performance, and that marks as well back-to-back former Euro Formula Open drivers winning the Spa 500 over the 2 years. Of course, it was the Venti Revés 12 months ago. Today, it's Christian Mansell. A wonderful performance, and that also means a success run of 3 Mercedes cars winning this race. The first one being Alfaisal Alzubair, Michael Grenier for Almanar Racing by Get Speed in 2024. Let's take a look at this moment.
Whoa.
A very near sideways motion there from SVC with Leonardo Moncini behind the wheel. He really was pushing all the way. And just look at this nudge in the back as well on Tom Leben coming through the bus stop chicane. That's cheeky, isn't it?
Well, he nearly threw away the podium fighting for a place he was never going to be able to keep there, really. So the risks being taken there by Moncini were pretty fierce.
Yeah, gnarly moments indeed. Tom Leben can be proud of what he has brought to the table as well. But let's take a look at the race results. Your winners, it's Motorpark for back-to-back years, this time with Mansell alongside Maxi Goetz. What a performance. They finish ahead of Tom Emson and Tom Leben in second, with Moncini and Testa in third place. Pro-Am success for Schwarzer and Fach in great style, very nearly making an impression on the overall podium as well, with Kelly and Cresswell in fifth, Bateman and Adam in sixth place as well, seventh further down for Barnicoat Bash, Jim Pla then further down with Fabian Dibianca finding P10 at the end of play. Dominic Baumann, James Cowell and Dean McDonald, Lucas Wolf, Theodore Jensen round off the top 15, then Philip Salicada, Stuart White, Mikkel Peterson, as well as Gaylord Obsman, Andre Lewandowski down at the back as well for Barron Motorsport team in 20th place. We've got Hernandez and Tribadini for Grupo Prom Racing, then Prato Vera and Mac Josh as well in 22nd, with Fernandez and Fontana from AF Motorsport Porsche in 23rd, Christian Kozanowski and then Stanislav Jedlinski in 24th place. And of course we did lose Duran, Mosca, Borodin, Webb, Besalo, and then of course Yifei, Muller and Mettler. Unfortunately we lost as well. All the way down to the bottom we lost 2 C's unfortunately to the US import Noble and Hart, unfortunately unable to make an impression here for this race. But this is a massive moment. Once again, the youth development in the GT Open continues. New stars arriving on the scene in GT3 racing, and a lovely balance between these two drivers. Obviously the experience of Maxi Goetz and Christian Mansell. Third place though for Leonardo Moncini. Great effort, pushed Tom Leben all the way, but the penalty regardless would have caused a bit of a stir for them. It is Tom Leben though who takes second alongside Tom Emson. Fantastic performance. Christian Mansell, your winner though alongside Maxi Goetz, and they're standing by with Alfredo Filipponi.
Christian Mansell, Maxi Goetz, a job well done.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was insane. I mean, the car felt amazing. Obviously, with the changing weather all throughout today, it was so sketchy, so hard to get right. You have to be so precise for so long. And, honestly, that was so much fun today. No words.
Maxi, basically you were never threatened.
Yeah, in the end, I had a great car today. We had a great starting position, P1, and we controlled it from the front. But without a good car, you can't do anything. I have to give credit to the team. They did a great job in terms of strategy, in terms of car balance. Every lap was really enjoyable, and we have such of those days which you never forget. And one of today is one of those days which I really enjoyed every lap. And to have a back-to-back win over here, I won it last year, and this year I can't ask for more, so super happy.
And a massive step forward in the championship also because of the misfortunes of the rival.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we can't control that. It's a shame, but it benefits us. So always, to take a personal side away, we're happy, but obviously it's never good. You want it to be as close as possible, have the best drivers all around you. But man, today we were a good pairing, and the car was excellent. So we couldn't have done anything better.
You don't have to be sorry. You have to enjoy now. Podium.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Well, what a display indeed from Christian Mansell and Maxi Goetz. Let's see how they did it. They started really strongly, though, didn't they? Not so good, though, for SVC Lamborghini. They dropped a couple of places. The 911 Porsche gaining a spot in advance as well. Later on, they would suffer yet more losses with Zach Meekin making a move up the inside, coming through the Jackie X section. Zach Meekin was continuously on the rise in the early stages of the race, and then we had the safety car brought out after the yellow flags that were raised after the big crash for Laurent de Meus at Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Then we had the driver change period come into play again. SVC once again on the move. This time it was Moncini behind the wheel, and he started making some serious ground. Zach Meekin will unfortunately make, though, a bit of a mistake coming through the tricky left-hander of Jackie X-Ben, hitting the barrier and giving his McLaren a bit of a black eye. We saw the FAC Auto Tech team, though, hard at work. They were really punching above their weight inside the top end of things, very nearly featuring on the overall podium and causing some hassle for the likes of the Elite Motorsport Ferrari team, as well as the SVC Lamborghini side as well, who eventually did manage to get past. We later saw as well the Mackenzie-Cresswell combination with Jaden Kelly. They were on the move as well, eventually finding their way past the Alexander FAC group. Eventually, though, FAC would get it back, coming through to the latter stint. SVC continuously on the rise, trying to punch above Tom Leben, though despite getting a penalty, they could not make it work. But the important factor here today is that Christian Mansell is a GT Open race winner, and Maxi Goetz takes the Spa 500 for a second successive time. So this is how the championship now looks at the conclusion of the Spa 500. Remember, double points for this race, and this is exactly what it's delivered for Christian Mansell, Maxi Goetz. Championship lead by 12 points on 54 ahead of Tom Emerson and Tom Leben for Elite Ferrari. Dean McDonald, Zach Meekin down in third, still in strong contention. They'll need a big race, though, when we head to Monza for the next 500, of course, but we do have races in between. Alex Fontana, I'm sure, will be returning soon. Pietro Armani, no points today for Armani because the car retired, so that leaves him all square with Fontana at the moment. But we are going to now set our eyes on the podium, and it does mean we'll see Leonardo Moncini alongside Rodrigo Testa in P3, Lamborghini in P3, Ferrari in P2, Mercedes in P1. Three different manufacturers. Here's the national anthem. Just want to state as well, before we get to the trophy presentation, Maxi Goetz on winning now 2 races here at Spa, back-to-back years. He now joins a great group. Michele Rugolo, Fran Rueda, Andrea Saraiva, as well as Andrea Montemini, Michael Grenier, Alfaisal Al-Zubair, taking 2 wins in Spa.
So it's podium on return to the GT Open for Scuderia Villorba-Corsa, and I'm sure the Toms would have taken this result had you handed it to them at the start of the weekend. They were really struggling for pace during testing, and the overnight engine change we were talking about, the crew here till 5 a.m. on Saturday morning, trying to get that car some pace, and it seems to have worked for them as they're now second in the championship. It looks, like Motor Park have got a big advantage, but, we're only second race meeting of the season, 6 more to go. Anything can happen. And, it's that one saying, was it, this too shall pass? So, it's looking good at the moment, but it may not stay that way.
Well, Motor Park also now with their second win at Spa as well. They join Emil Frey Racing SVC as well. SVC actually winning here at Spa in 2011 and 2013. Emil Frey winning in 2017 and 2019. But you could say Motor Park are actually the first team to win back-to-back at this track. So exceptional for them. And so a great record, but they are number 2 regardless. Still got some work to do to catch Teo Martin Motorsport, though, who won on 5 different occasions here at Spa. So the champagne being sprayed, and no need to worry about the race suits because, of course, it's only a one-race wonder. That is the magic of the Spa 500, and we've got the magic of the Pro-Am podium, have we not? Because FAC Motorsport, you know, tech, incredible performance. I mean, Alexander FAC, as well as his teammate Schwarzer. We've also got further down Johnny Adam, Ben Barnacote representing as well. Truly a who's who of pro drivers as well in certain ways in motorsport, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, the lead drivers there, they're absolutely superb job. But yeah, this family team beating them all out there. And, you know, some big names that they were ahead of. And so it's 3rd position for Ben Barnacote and Morgan Tilbrook in their guest appearance here this weekend, but another podium appearance for the 97 crew, following on from their victory in race 2 in Portimao. 2nd place for Johnny Adam and Charles Bateman. Of course, Johnny Adams' first appearance this season as Chavez was standing in for him, but it is a 2nd victory of the season for FAC Autotech, for Alexander Schwarzer and Alexander FAC, and a supreme day as well, because they will be a team name will be on the top step of the podium for the AM podium as well in just a few minutes. The Michelin representative handing out the trophies and to the winning drivers as well. And so, yeah, if my maths is correct, it is tied at the head of the championship between those 2 crews now in the Pro-Am standings.
This is going to be one they'll long remember, I think, the FAC Tech team. I mean, what a performance. I mean, it's definitely up there. I mean, of course, credit goes to Christian Mansell and Maxi Goetz for getting the win, but I think in terms of the David v Goliath approach and looking at it from that angle, you can't say anything else. I just think what an incredible effort.
But look at the drivers they've beaten as well. Much more established bronze drivers, platinum and gold graded pro drivers as well. That is not a mean feat to beat the likes of Blackthorn and Optimum and all these other teams that they've beaten today, because they are incredibly well established. And yeah, this is a big moment for the Swiss team, and certainly indeed in the AM championship as well, because we're about to see our pre-event championship leaders was the Lewandowskis. I've given up trying to do the math on that one now, because it's just been swapping and changing so much. But yeah, I do think they are all tied. Now it's our top 3 in the championship who are top 3 in this race.
We'll see if your theory's correct when the document comes out later on, and we'll be able to observe
I will brag about it if it is correct.
Look forward to that one over dinner later on. So the Lewandowski standing P3 on the podium for the Barron Motorsport Squadron. Blair Motorsport, of course, there as well. There you can see on the left-hand side. Well done them, Gaylord Osman. Remember, they had the 25 seconds that they had to serve as well.
A late birthday present there for Marcello Hahn to be on the podium, but same for Tom Leben as well, 2nd place overall. And yes, Blau Motorsport back on the podium once again. But it is FAC Autotech for the first time on the top step of the AM podium for Joel Monegro, the driver from the Dominican Republic, joined this weekend by Lucas Wolff, because it is the endurance, so you need to have a teammate, but Joel will be solo once again in Misano. Fabulous stuff. What a moment for the team.
Absolutely. And it won't be long before we go racing once again, of course, through this 8-round extravaganza that, of course, features in the International GT Open. We, of course, do have lots to look forward to with, of course, Misano waiting in the wings as part of our 2-parter Italian run. We will see you, though, on the weekend, the 6th and 7th of June. See you at Misano, but from all of us here at Spa, it's goodbye.
C'est plus difficile de faire péter un bouchon.